Who are you? What do you do?
Yep, love it. I'm Frank Friends. I'm a man of many, many hats, but my two favorite are father and husband. But I do weapons training, gunsmithing, home repair, things like that. And I ran for education for the school board out here.
Superintendent, right?
No, I just ran for school board of District C, the area I live in.
School board of District C.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that I could get on there and like try to affect policies and change our education system that's been failing for the last 20 years.
All right. So what do you think is wrong with the education system? Like, what
well, one, the teachers are overworked, they're understaffed. You have too many administrative hands going on, and like when a teacher calls out, instead of an administrator going in there and handling that class for that day, now we got to find a sub. Now we got to find a temp sub. Now we got to do this and we got to do that. If you cannot go in there and just teach a simple class for a day, you probably shouldn't be an administrator at a school. I mean, I'm not teacher certified, but if you put me into science, math, English, history, I can go in there for a day, throw on a PowerPoint and walk kids through it.
Okay.
And as an administrator, you should be doing that to keep the budget low, keep the school going, cover for teachers who need the help or the time to recover whatever they're doing, things like that. And also the safety of the school. We rank 50th in safety out of 50.
We're in Nevada, by the way. This show will have no context.
We're in Nevada.
Yeah.
By the way.
Nevada.
Oh,
it's
Nevada.
It's Nevada.
It's so hard.
No, it's not hard. That's the East Coast in you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we rank 50th out of 50. And since I do weapons training and things like that, I understand encountering a active situation, things like that, what the schools would need to implement. So I ran on that too, like single point of entry, metal detectors, certain things won't be allowed at school. You know what I mean? Like your kids aren't going to be allowed to bring scissors and staplers, and because it's just going to set the metal detectors off. Schools can provide that. You know what I mean? School students will get in and out the metal detector faster. It won't, bog up time. I wanted to wear what we have. We call them TOM units, but they're called traffic units to you guys on motorcycles, radar guns. I want one at the beginning of a school zone and one in the middle of the school zone. 30 minutes before school, 30 minutes after school. That's it. And then they get a ticketed people. It's a double penalty ticket. You can use some of that to go to the proceeds for schools and helping the educational funds, things like that. Plus, you'll stop a lot of people are U-turning in the school zones causing accidents. They're double parking, blocking the entire street. Or you'll get people that, since they know kids aren't using their cell phones at school, they got to keep them shut off or in these pouches, they'll jump and assault the kids after school to steal their phones. Well, if we got cops that are, already there, less likely to have that occur. And I wanted armed on-site personnel at every single school, because if you have somebody on site, from FBI statistics, it's 3 seconds to 3 minutes and they end the threat. Like it's over. Either the person leaves or they've handled the suspect or the suspect deletes themselves. You know what I mean? Within the 3 minutes, if somebody's there.
Yeah. I'm always surprised that they don't have officers in school.
High schools.
Last time they do or don't?
The high schools have them. The middle schools are kind of getting there now, but we had an elementary school where they got 2 tasers, 3 or 4 switchblades, and pepper spray off of 5th graders.
Yeah. Went to high school in the DC area, in a nice area where there's no crime, and there was an officer at the school. We all knew his name even.
Yeah.
Right? Is it safe to say his name? Am I doxing somebody? I don't think so.
Yeah.
His name was Officer Harrington. Everybody knew the guy, right? And this was pre-Columbine. There were I think the guy just literally just did traffic stuff and usually wrote warnings. I don't think he did anything because it was really chill. But I'm thinking if in the safest place you have that, wouldn't you have more where there's more conflict? But
well, I mean, to me, you got people who always do this. Oh, we don't want our schools to look like a prison. Oh, the school to prison pipeline. Well, you've created a school to prison pipeline. I mean, think about it.
Yeah, if you enable crime rather than yeah.
Well, students are assaulting kids in the bathrooms. What do they do in prison? They go into the bathroom to assault each other so that the guards can't stop them.
Yeah. Interesting.
You're having a cultural thing that just copies what it sees and what it knows, and you're not having any deterrence to stop it. I mean,
yeah.
You know, so if you're going to protect your politicians and your money with firearms, why wouldn't you protect your children?
Okay.
And people are like, oh, you know, it's scary. It's not scary. Every kid in this world, by the time the age of 7, they've seen a gun, whether it's on TV, a video game they're playing, or if they've handled one. I mean, our daughter's 5, and she's been handling firearms since that age. She knows how to handle them safely. She knows how to break them down, take them apart. She knows how to clean them. She knows how to respect them and not touch them. She knows how to come tell an adult. Also, with the school situation, she knows how to call the police and tell them in police code what is going on. So she'll call 911. She'll be like, I'm at such and such school. I got a 434, 413. This is what's going on. I got a BMJ, black male juvenile. He's wearing this, or a white male juvenile. He's wearing this. She knows to go to head to toe to description so that she can bypass the whole, well, how do you know? What's going on? What are they wearing? She's already, you're going to be quiet. Here's your codes. So the dispatcher starts stopping asking questions and information can get to Metro quicker.
Yeah.
Well, my problem is if you have somebody on site and they hear it, they're already responding. Like I said, FBI says it takes 3 seconds to 3 minutes, gunfight's over. You know what I mean? So if you're on site, it's over. Now, you got teachers that are being so courageous and using their bodies as shields because there's nothing else they can do now. Because there's nobody there. There's not a cop coming to protect that teacher or those students. Why not? Oh, it's a logistics thing. It's a money thing. No, it sounds like you like a continuous problem thing. You like the problem so you can run on it later or so you can divide people amongst it later, which I don't understand. I mean,
yeah,
you protect your money with guns, protect your kids with them too. It just makes most logical sense to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And people were up in arms about that quite a bit.
So if you become on this board of superintendent, what does that oversee even? Like what is the scope and power of that? Is that all grades? It's just in your area. I understand that. Like what type of influence do you have on the school? Like what are the parameters of that?
Well, the election's already over. So I ran for school board of my district.
Yeah.
But if if I'd got on there, what I would have done is I would have worked with the school board members to be like, look, yeah, we're failing at education. You know what I mean? We're 47th, I think. We're 47th in education, 50th in safety. So it's like probably the worst place you could send your kids. Let's not continuously repeat what we've done for 2 decades. Because school started to decline when I went to school. I graduated in 2003. It's 2025 now. That's 20 years. 20 years of these doctrines, these educators, and you've had a 20-year decline. Children's IQs aren't even as high as they were 20 years ago.
Yeah. I have my own problems with academia, and I've not considered these problems, but I think that before you even get to any of that, there's a lot of problems just in the curriculum.
Well, you got the curriculum, you got the parents, the whole blame doesn't go on teachers or schools. You know what I mean? Teachers are allowed to teach what you say they're allowed to teach from the state's perspective. You know what I mean? So you might have a phenomenal teacher that knows a way to solve a problem. They can't implement it unless they sign a paper, send it to a thing. It goes through this bureaucracy, all this other stuff. I look at it like this. We have places that are successful. We had places that used to fail. So let's use Texas. Texas had a lot of bilingual kids for many, many years. They were having problems with testing because of the bilingualness. Well, now Texas scores a lot higher now. What did they do? They implemented this policy or that policy. Well, thank you. You've shown us that it works. We're going to steal those policies now. We're going to implement them because we have a lot of bilingual students. So I look at it like that, but it's like my big thing with like the education is, one, you have to change the environment to change the outcome. If it's not a safe environment, teachers don't want to be there. Teachers don't want to be there. They're not going to put the extra work in. They're not going to do the things they're going to do. Students aren't going to be there. They're not going to pay attention to what the teacher's saying. And then you have the home environment, so you got a lot of things going on. And like you said, the curriculum's already bad. Why do we not have advanced specific testing done? So if your child is a 2nd grader, but they read at a 3rd grade level, but they can do math at a 5th grade level, why are they still in a 2nd grade classroom? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Because if your child can read at a 3rd grade level, he should be in a 3rd grade reading level class. If he can do math at a 5th grade level, let's keep him in a 5th grade level reading class. So he keeps that edge and he's all like, I'm smart. I'm building my self-confidence. I'm growing. Reading's not my best subject. That's okay. Now we have a teacher that'll work with you on that. But we're going to send you to a 5th grade class for math.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm even thinking more basic than that. Like, you know, people are taking biology and studying like the cell, and then they get out of school and they don't understand like basic finance, and like they like have to, if you don't have home support, you're screwed, right? And so there's a lot of things where they're like, well, the home will teach you this, but we want to teach you this in case the home doesn't. I'm thinking if you were to insert something in there that we would want to teach you in case the home doesn't, it wouldn't be biology, right? Like the home can teach you biology in case you're more advanced and you think that you want to be a biologist, but if the home is not teaching you how to fill out a form or how to like do finances, and I know that I think one of the things that people don't know is the internet, and a lot of the people who spend a lot of time on the internet are usually a bit above like the absolute like impoverished people in America. Yeah. And so, and especially the ones that speak on the internet. And so they have no idea like how like low that bar is and how bad it is for people. There's a lot of people that like, you know, like just roll their way through school, just barely getting through. They get out there, you know, their parents are like kicking them out. They don't know how to fill out forms. They don't understand finance. They get themselves in debt. They start missing payments. They screw up their credit, and like they can't even function. And it's like, I swear to God, they can tell you about the nucleus of a cell.
Oh yeah, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, everybody knows it. But like, I'm not sure that was really the best investment that we wanted to make with those resources. And I don't think there's anything wrong with biology. I just think that most people don't use it. Well, yeah. And the argument for why they do it is because it's the building block for this. But there are other things, right? There's other ways to teach other things that are more basic, right?
So the interesting thing about what you said is when I ran, I even told people what I would do. In 6th grade, the minute you start 6th grade, you buy a house. That house will follow you all the way to 12th grade. And you will show us that you can maintain a house, balance a budget, write a insurance claim, because you're going to write one in your lifetime at some point. And it was going to show students how to shut off a valve in case something busted so that they don't flood their whole house while they wait 40 minutes for the next plumber to come there, who could come in there, oh yeah, could have just turned this off, buddy. Saved you a lot of water damage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That should have been taught from 6th grade to 12th grade.
Yeah.
And in that, what are you teaching when you're teaching that? Well, you're teaching math, because that's balancing your budget. You're teaching English, because now you have to write a report that's understandable for the insurance company to be like, we'll accept this claim or we won't. You know what I mean? So now you're implementing all these lessons like you're talking about that are the building blocks.
Or if one of those kids moves between schools, you have to talk about what it is that a couple of things that you have to do, like moving your utilities.
Yeah.
Or changing your address with the DMV. Those could be some things that they
those would have all been scenarios that, you know, in 8th grade, now you're moving.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How do you get your power turned on? How do you put it in your name? What do you do?
That sounds
so that would have taught them and prepared them for life, because I mean the American dream is to own a home. End of story, period. Yeah, you can bust your back, you can be an entrepreneur, you can build somebody else's dream and be a worker, whatever. But the end goal of both of those dreams is own a home.
Yeah.
So that's the American dream, own a home. There is nothing we're doing that is preparing them to own a home. Correct. You know, most kids graduate high school and cannot read or comprehend at a 10th or 9th grade level.
I do. Unfortunately, I do.
That's ridiculous.
Do I think that most people know that? I don't think they do. I don't think people understand how bad it is.
Well, see, and that's the thing too. Like, so that's what actually encouraged me to run for school boards. I was having issues with my daughter. So my daughter has skipped 5th and 7th grade now. She will graduate UNLV, if she's on the path she's on, with her AA by the time she's 16 and her BA by the time she's 18. She's in 9th grade at 11 years old.
What's AA and BA?
It's like
associates, and then
arts,
a bachelor's,
and then bachelor's or something like that. Yeah, it's
bachelor's of science, BS.
Yeah, it's like it's your BS. Yeah, it's like what you spend 4 years going to college for.
I know what BS.
She's going to do 2 years in college and get it because the school she goes to is dual accredited.
Okay. Yeah.
Why aren't we doing that everywhere? If I'm giving you algebra, and algebra is a high school course, but you're taking it in 6th grade because, like I said, she skipped. Well, why doesn't that just give her high school credit?
Sure. Well, I know why we're not doing that. Partly, it's because the whole thing is an assembly line, and you're talking about dynamic production, and they're not set up to do that. right? Which doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing or that they shouldn't change, but that's why they're not.
Yeah.
And it's not a justification.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, so we talked to the principal, and the principal's like, yeah, we'll look into it. And I looked into it, and I found the NRS code for the school board of what it is. My daughter operates under this code. It states that if the child can do the work at that grade level and has the mental and emotional maturity to be in that grade level, you give them the opportunity. The only reason she wanted to skip is she made friends with all the older kids. So they were going to walk and graduate at the same time. That's all she wanted to do. She wanted to be with her friends. That's social maturity and acceptance. And she understands the course.
Well, she's probably driven more by
that's the thing.
older,
and the counselor didn't want to. The counselor didn't want to do the paperwork. The counselor, whatever reason, no, we're not going to do that, Mr. Friends. I said, okay, cool. I'm going to pull my daughter from your school and I'm going to send her to another school. So she goes to Explorer Academy now. And why is your daughter correcting our math teacher about math? Your daughter, no, we're going to test her. I'm like, well, yeah. Why are you having her in algebra? What do you mean? Why do we have her in algebra? She should be doing algebra 2 or trig. No. She's only in 7th grade. She already did algebra. Oh, they didn't put that on the transcript correctly. We didn't know that she took the high school course. They didn't put the correct number in when they put the course number in. So they tested her. She scored 2,656 out of 2,656. Highest score you can get. They're like, oh yeah, your daughter should be. So they did it. No argument. They worked with the child. They worked with the child's skill level and bumped her right at where she needed to be so that she could stay challenged and engaged in the education.
And so that's a private entity, Explorer?
No, Explorer Academy. It's just it's a charter school. You guys, anybody can enroll.
Yeah.
But isn't charter schools private entity?
When you say private, I think
run-
parents paying like private tuition and you know what I'm saying. Like I
it's
think
more
that.
How do you get access to that then? I literally don't.
I think you just have to fill out applications for these charter schools, and they take so many, and at that point it becomes a lottery. You know, like we're taking the first 300.
And who funds that? The state or the county?
The parents. The parents.
No, I think that's a private charter school. This one I think is funded by taxpayers.
Okay.
Just the same thing as CCSD.
I sat next to a lady on the airport, on the airplane, and she talked about how she's back at work and she's doing a lot of work with charter schools.
But that might be private charter schools.
Maybe.
This is more of a, like I said, this is just, they answer to CCSD and they operate within the realms. Well, they took my daughter's education serious.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? And like, that's the thing. Like, I look at it like this. Honestly, when did most people's education stop? It stopped in 9th grade. When you were 12, you were learned everything you could learn in school, and now it was time to go work with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Get on the farm, get on the machine, handle the business, get into the factory, learn the press, learn the this, learn the that. You know what I mean?
I really think that the kids being involved in the professional thing with their parents is absolutely crucial. And it's funny because we've set up this social thing where like that's the kid's worst nightmare, right?
Yeah.
And like that's ridiculous. That is the best thing a kid could possibly do. Work with an adult, probably your parent, because your parent knows you best and has this discipline over you. Maybe not. I don't know. There's like complications to that, right? So kids have this like psyche, and they say that it comes from cave people and like mixed breeding, right? So you can't have inbred, so you don't want kids to like breed within their own like community.
Yeah.
So they would switch communities. It's because part of how that's driven and how we see that in modern society is like, my parents are dumb, so I'm going to go hang out with these other adults because my parents are the only dumb ones, right? Well, that's it's a chemically subconscious driven thing that has created this breeding that got us to this point. But so I don't know, maybe the kids just need to work with other adults. But I generally think that kids need to be working sooner or involved in working sooner, not laboring, but learning and being integrated in those things, right? Instead of seeing a variety of school subjects, like I keep picking on biology, it's my whipping boy here, but instead of say biology or even trigonometry, because a lot of people don't use that stuff. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but that seems like something that could be approached electively or through different means or through charter or through whatever. But, so, and actually our approach is basically...
Well, what if it was a proclivity? Like if a child showed savant-like ability in that subject. Well, then, okay, now that child's going to take biology.
Which is what the elective
everybody else, you're going to take math up to algebra so that you can balance your checkbook.
Yeah.
End of story. You don't need anything past algebra unless you're building or you're doing robots or you're doing, a field of the complicated math.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need algebra to balance a checkbook. How much do I make? How much am I getting? What's the X factor? Where do I need to budget? You know what I mean? And that's where, boom. And like you said, electives after that. Like, let them elect into it.
So you're doing a lot of talk about like lifting the cap off. I'm trying to bring the bottom up. And I mean, we can do both. I'm down to do both.
Yeah.
But my the triage in me, right? Turn off that valve where the water's spilling out.
Yeah.
I wanna bring that bottom up first, right? And so that's why I'm talking about the bottom first, I guess. And so, getting them involved, getting them working with their hands. They have this idea that work is like not fruitful, and like that you just work so that you can get money, and it's like miserable. But
you want to know where that comes from?
Lots of things that you love.
Look at the last 10 years and what have we done as a society? We've made stupid famous. You don't have to work no more. Talk to a man on the street. Talk to your wife. Hawktilla, and now I'm a millionaire.
I think we've also done this thing where we've said, well, you're better than working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
That phrase. You've talked about this phrase a lot as well.
Yeah, an entire generation was told like basically you're better working at McDonald's, and if you screw up, then you better start saying like you're going to end up at McDonald's, like as if it was like the freaking gulag or something.
It's everybody thinks that they're the next famous thing, and they think anything below that is beneath them, and that's the problem. Like, that's why you don't have good leaders now. Think about it. You don't look at this generation and look for people to lead. Who are we looking to? We're looking to different people for leadership, because we don't have leaders in our generation, at least the younger generation than me. They have people stepping on people to lift themselves up, and as soon as they get up, they yank the ladder, and they're like, no, because you're going to steal my shine. You know what I mean?
With the internet as well, it allowed a lot of young people to go on there and be in front of young people who are the same age and have had the same non-life experiences. so allowing people of the same age to be around people of the same age, what are they learning?
And that's where the older making stupid famous is. Because if you can get famous by just
right.
Well, now I can get famous by blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Now we're both millionaires and we don't need to work. And McDonald's is now beneath us. But then what happens to those people? Same thing that happens to these D1 athletes and these guys. They get all this money. They do all this stuff. And then, now you see a dude who was in a Super Bowl 20 years ago actually flipping burgers out of McDonald's that he owns because he had to humble himself and go buy one. Because he wasn't getting that athlete money anymore. That Hawktilla money don't come in no more. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, I mean, even our music nowadays, we make stupid people famous. Yeah. And then they don't work and they think McDonald's is beneath them.
Yeah, there's definitely a dumbing down thing going on. And even in media, and we have this alternative media, but there's a danger to it, right? I think there's a lot of good to it, but it used to be you had to be like intellectual and have insight in all these things to like get on TV. It didn't matter how entertaining you were. Some people would just be like, no way, there's no way we're letting that guy on. And then that changed over time. Even on, I guess, broadcast television, even on traditional media, the standards declined to where you went to like simpleton stuff.
Well, look, like you just said, look at what happens when a tragedy happens and the news gets there. They go up to the weirdest looking person with the least amount of speaking etiquette. They're like, what happened over here? Man, you better hide your kids, hide your wife. He raping everybody. They don't talk to any of the mothers like, we've put the complaint in. We've told Metro that this guy's prowling. They went to the loudest, most obnoxious person they could find, put him all over the internet so that people think people in that neighborhood look and act like that.
That drama.
It's the thing. The drama sells. Yeah. And if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah. I learned about this when I was in Iraq, and I had access to intelligence and stuff like that, and I was there and we were doing different things. And then I would talk to people back home every so often, and they'd be like, this is what I saw on the news. And I'm like, what?
About where you were.
About where I was, yeah. And so I would see things that were not important inflated. I would see things that were important that weren't even covered. Mm-hmm. And I remember, somebody was like, yeah, but I saw in the news, so therefore you're lying. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm literally here with access to the information. I've got the highest security clearance. I've been in the fucking briefing rooms. I can see stuff.
I've seen the thing happen. No, it did it.
You can actually go into there's towers and you can see around the city. So if there's a fight, you can actually go and see it, right? There's all sorts of stuff, and you can see stuff when you're in the helicopters from it's flat. The buildings aren't that tall. You can actually see a lot of what's going on in various things. But anyway. So they would argue with me.
Yeah, and to me that contributes to what I call arguing from a place of authority. Just like the school board.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is.
Only if you're a teacher can you tell me about education. Well, I just told you my daughter skipped 5th and 7th grade. The school didn't teach her how to do that.
Yeah.
Me and my wife did at home.
Yeah.
I think I know a thing or two about education. I train people to stay safe in shooting scenarios, how to put a tourniquet on, chest sucking wound, things like that. If I can teach that, I can teach a 5-year-old not to eat the crown and to write his name, okay? They're not difficult things. But everybody wants to argue from authority. So, you're not the news guy. You can't tell me what's really going on. You wouldn't know. And there you are facing it dude, it just happened Tuesday. I was sitting with the Sarge and we watched it go down.
So I thought about what could cause that to happen, and why didn't they cover the one thing versus the other thing? And I saw the camera crews. I saw different stuff going on. I saw whatever, and it became clear to me. Because that happened early on, and then I watched it the whole time, and it became clear to me that ultimately what they were producing and what would make the news was whatever they could make into a story. Mm-hmm. It was just that simple. If they had footage and they could develop a narrative, they were not interested in reporting on the truth. Mm-hmm. They were interested in telling a story. And sure, those stories had threads of truth, but even if they had full footage and took verbatim statements on something, if they can juice something up and deflate something, they did, because it would make the story more interesting and they sell more ads. And that was crazy to me, because I didn't think that's how it worked. I was I couldn't even fathom that at the time. And, now we're talking about fake news, and we've seen increasingly obvious things where the news will show you one set of media and then the videos will come out on the internet and you're like, well, they just lied. There's no way they got it wrong. They absolutely had to have lied.
That's the thing that's so funny to me, because I said, I was on Fox and Friends when the COVID happened. Mm-hmm. I told them everything that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I told them you're going to see increased suicide rates. You're going to see children not a year behind, 2 to 3 years behind. And you're going to see autism shoot up, because now it's actually affecting the kids, because most people have to see your face to interact with you. Well, now you're covering their face. Mm-hmm. Now the kids don't understand interaction, and you took a year away from them through that. Mm-hmm. Once the numbers came in, Fox... I haven't seen that on Fox and Friends since then. I haven't seen my interview with them. But that's the thing. It didn't lead. It didn't, and who am I? I'm nobody. I'm not a doctor or a psychologist or nothing like that. And that's the thing that's weird to me, is you can show them the thing, and people, for some reason, have no problem being tricked or duped or manipulated. They have a problem admitting that it happened. You know what? I was lied to. I got fooled. They got me. Back in the day, if somebody duped you, you're like, you got me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
But now we're just getting fooled over and over again. They're like, no, we'll keep believing. We'll believe the media every time. And like you said, the fake news, and you'll see it. You'll see one thing happen, and you're there, and you're like, that ain't what happened. And then the news will come out, alternative news will have a guy on the ground, and he'll show you the alternative thing that happened. They're like, no, that's doctored. That's AI. That's fake.
Or
you're not
they're not a credible source.
Yeah,
they have
a credible
an agenda,
source now.
Dude,
if you have a smartphone, you're a reporter. You're a credible source. Because most people aren't going to know how to fake a video. They do. Most of the average person that has an iPhone or Android, they're going to be able to record, upload it, hope they get their hits and get their moment of fame. They're not going to take it home and try to manipulate it on the computer for 2-3 hours, because then somebody else is going to upload it, because everybody had their phones out.
I think the biggest problem that we're facing as a society, and it started, I guess, in the 50s or 60s, is ad-based revenue. Because if you think about why the news would do things in manipulative fashion, if you think about why Facebook would want you to be on there longer and longer, and so they literally, Facebook disrupts your feed and like gives you stuff every so many things that are relevant that you were looking for, and they inject stuff in between there. They're intentionally making it so that you have to scroll longer to see what your friend said, because you have to see all this other stuff. And every so often they throw you that nugget of real interaction with all this fake interaction. Why? So they can show you more ads between there. If there's 10 things to be seen and you couldn't put an ad between every one of them, people would notice. So you stuff it with like pork, and then you could put an ad in between there, because between this thing and the next friend thing is 7 or more things, and then you put an ad in there, you don't even notice it anymore, because that's 1 in 8, because the thing plus the 7 and so now you're more tolerant of the ad, and then they can put 10 or so ads in there, as opposed to if it was 10 things straight from your friend. The real user is probably going to tolerate 1 ad, maybe 2 at most. Yeah. So
because I'm here to interact with my friend.
Yeah. So they have an incentive to just drag it out and do whatever to keep you interested, to TikTok your mind, through, so that they can show more ads, right? Yeah. And so I think ultimately ad-based revenue is there. It always corrupts. There's everything that we're talking about that has been corrupted or made bad is from ad-based revenue. And I don't know exactly what you do to solve that.
I can tell you what to do to solve it.
All right, let's hear it.
Direct ad revenue. So this is your podcast. You get to say who advertises on here. You want Trojan condoms? Only Trojan ads here. You want Budweiser? Only Budweiser gets to ad here.
And I think also we've seen that with some other podcasts. They advertise their own products.
Well, your own brands, yeah. But I'm saying if you want international brands, like to me, I'm a weapons instructor. If I was doing a podcast, I would only allow Glock handguns to advertise on my podcast, because to me, that is my favorite handgun. I'd want that out there. You know what I mean? I want people to, this is what I recommend, this is what I use. You know what I'm saying? So if you were allowed to control your own ads, you might not get as much revenue, but then you'd have more say-so in one who's sponsoring show. Like you saw what happened with Dana White when he found out Peloton called up some dude and said, "You'll take that ad off now." He says, "Who did that to you?" He's like, "Oh, Peloton did it." He goes, "Do we have Peloton in our gym?" They're like, "Yeah." He goes, "Get rid of all of them right now." Once we realize that, yes, they're going to advertise on our stuff, but we can control who advertises, then we know we have the power. And if they want their ads seen, they'll appeal to more people.
I understand what you're saying. And you're talking about the ads influencing the content and like being like editorially involved. But I think before even that, even if that was made illegal and like somehow let's say you have a magic wand and you make that illegal and it actually works and you don't have to do anything to enforce it, just pretend that it works, because laws aren't magic, but let's pretend it is.
They think they are.
You still have a corrupting thing where you're trying to get people to commit more time to see more ads, regardless of what those ads are. Like you're still corrupt, like from go, because you want people to see more ads, even if you get to pick them. Right. Well, so if I'm in charge of, do the magic wand bullshit again, I'm in charge of Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make money for Facebook. I'm still going to go with trying to show people more ads that are higher paying ads that are whatever. I'm still immediately trying to get people to spend more time on the platform. And like, well, maybe not me, because I wouldn't morally necessarily do this, but that, you see what would happen is, my point is, it's a naturally corrupting phenomenon, regardless of the rules or intents or anything.
Well, I think that's what you would get. I think you would get a more refined, because like I said, I'm a weapons instructor, so I'm only going to let Glock advertise on my podcast. I know a bunch of other guys that would do the same. So Glock will be like, well, we advertise on 35 podcasts and they see this many people, we're going to pay $10 an ad. You know what I mean? Now, instead of getting 35 cents an ad, I'm getting $10 an ad. I'm getting more revenue. So while their group gets a little more, I'd say, in the scope of who's going to buy them anyways, because it doesn't make sense for Glock to advertise on, Dylan Mulvaney's podcast. Nobody who watches Dylan Mulvaney is going to buy a gun. You know what I mean? But then you would get more refined ads directed to the users that are looking for the content that they're already feeding in.
But here's the experience that I think we can maybe draw from. So you pick up a book.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to read a book. You're going to look at the words, and that's all you're looking for. You're looking for the story. You're looking to stay involved in the story.
Yeah.
You're not going to get an ad in there, right? You're just not. But you've bought the book, or you've taken the book out from the library. So you've made some kind of effort to purchase it, or, you know, get a library card to go ahead and get the book. If I go on Facebook now, I'm not paying for that. There's no subscription.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's free, I don't know how you sustain that. So the other way around that is to make people pay a small fee for a subscription to use that service. I think the point is, how do you have the income without the ad-based revenue that interrupts why you're actually there on the platform, which is to see what people are doing that are your friends, your family, maybe groups that you're involved with. Like, how do you get around that?
I don't think you'd be able to
support
get around
that.
It.
But that's I think that's what your point is.
Even if you have a podcast and you have clock and you've chosen them, they're still going to pay you in accordance with how many views you get.
Yeah.
And so ad-based revenue drives views, and then deviation of ethical behavior can drive views as well. And so you have a naturally corrupting thing. Like,
but I think if you could show the people, like people that tune into your podcast tune to you because they like you and your content, you know what I mean? So you're going to get your niche. You know what I mean? This is your group. You might get some outsiders that are like, oh, who's that? I'll tune into that. You know what I mean? But once you got your subscribers in your group, that's your group. You know what I mean? Now I can tell you, you know, you're not going to spend all this money on these ads that'll go to people that don't even want nothing to do with your product. It's going to directly streamline to people who already believe the way you believe, think the way you think, and are already looking for the product that you're providing.
Sure.
So now I could, like, instead of having 10 Glock ads go, I can have one, and I get paid a little more, but Glock now has a refined, these people will buy our product. They will look at this thing. You know what I mean? Or like she said, you could go the route of make your own shirts, make your own coffee, you know what I mean? But how many people have that much entrepreneur in them to run a podcast
even if they did
and do that?
Like, it's people's commitment to a brand with the amount of variety that we have out here, it's very difficult to sustain based off that. Like, I have dyslexia. I did horribly in school, and then like hit the cap on an IQ test, and then ended up taking more IQ tests.
That's usually how that works.
So I don't know that I was ready for any advanced classes because I didn't have any like structure to like be ahead in my classes per se, but I was clearly doing inconsistent things enough to where that was a part of it. But I know that I struggled because the floor was like not supporting me, and I didn't have the home life to like make that happen. And so when I got out of school, I didn't understand how to fill out forms. I know that like family and friends of family from like Baltimore, because my family's from Baltimore, even though we just moved here from DC. The people in Baltimore are struggling, man. I know that there's wealthy people. There's even millionaires and billionaires, or maybe a billionaire in Baltimore, but a lot of people are struggling, and like they leave school and like they don't know how to pay their bills.
Nope.
They don't understand the consequences if they don't pay their bills. They don't understand that they come every month no matter what. Like we were also I'm all over the place. We were also foster parents, and our last foster kid that was with us, she's 17, and she's like, "Oh, I understand the world. I know how to live on my own. I've got it all figured out." And she's like, "I know how to pay bills. I know how budgets work. I understand finance." She's like, I understand like checking accounts. She said all this, and she was so convincing. And then we were like, okay. And so we asked her to put together like her budget for her monthly thing to like show us. And so we could like we were planning on being more refined and like talking about what she should pay and why and what the market rates were and things like that. She put together a wish list like it was a kid's like Christmas, I want a pony. Like she was not in reality,
right?
We were like,
I want a $5 cell phone bill and a $300 Ferrari.
No, it was things like
it was.
I want to be able to save over here, but I know that I'm going to have this much, and I'm going to have to pay my bills. The bills part wasn't itemized as far as what
it didn't exist.
Components of that.
Okay.
That didn't even like she didn't even understand. water bill, electricity, rent, gas for a car,
she just said the
insurance.
house. It's all one bill.
No, not even. No.
It just,
She said budget. She's like, so many dollars saved for parties. Budget. So many dollars saved for new car. Budget. So many, all like a wish list. It was just a wish list. There was no house rent.
There was no actual
Like,
bills.
it's way
there.
worse. Like it's more like a kid's what do you want wish list. And she'd taken that and she'd proportionate it in a savings plan, but there was nothing about living expenses to be had. She didn't comprehend them, even though she spoke as if she did. She was aware of them, but she wasn't accounting for them. And then, so that was like a thing. And then she got a gym membership, and then she was like shocked that it kept happening every month at the same time. And she's like, "Wow, every time!" And we're like,
a reoccurring bill.
"What? How, you know?" And she
even said, "I didn't even go last month." And we're like, "What?"
That's how the gyms get you.
What?
Yeah.
You
I didn't
know?
use the service. Why am I paying?
Yeah.
Because you signed a commitment, right?
That's the problem. That's how a lot of them get you now, too. Like, my wife just found out somehow we were paying for Hulu twice.
Yeah, shit like that happens.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, because we have Disney Plus or Super Ultra Disney, whatever it is. It includes Hulu. But Hulu also wants their money. So you got to...
Because you got to think, yeah.
So you got to figure it out, you know, and that's just adulting.
Yeah, if you buy 2 packages, you're going to get some overlap thing. I can see that. That happens a lot to people.
Well, they got a thing now that'll you put it on your phone, tell it every subscription you have. It rings up for a month. It tells you, oh, you're paying for that same subscription twice. Or here's a subscription you didn't know you were paying for. It's only $5.
We know what we
but I'm just saying, like, it's cool that but it's also crazy that they've had to come out with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like you said, lifting the floor up, I think the best way to lift the floor up in society is, one, we got to start with the home. But
it's very difficult.
But then, well, I don't think it is. I think what you've seen in society, like, because I just did a bunch of stuff with family court, and statistically, this is crazy, they know outcomes. Statistically, children raised by single fathers have almost predictable outcomes as children raised by 2 parents.
I did know this.
Well, some people don't. But yet, if you take that to the court and you show that you as the father make more money, you have the stable job, you have the place, they'll be like, we're going to get a kid to mom.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if we start looking at statistics and things like that, we can start bringing the floor up, because it's like, well, if the better outcome for the child is to be with the dad, then let's put the child with the dad and let's give it 6 months and see what happens. Dad's really not there for the child, works 60 hours a week when he thought he was only going to work 40. Let's put the child back with the mom. You know, test it out. Instead of making everything just so permanent with the way they do it, where it's like, oh, she's going to go to the mom. That's it. That's how we do it as a society. Well, it ain't worked in 20 years. Why do we keep repeating it?
Yeah. I think it's something like 90% of felons are from single mothers.
80% of all people locked up are from single mothers.
Yeah.
90% of runaways, teenage pregnancies, and suicides are from single mothers.
Yeah. And I think that part of the
So
reason
tragic.
that they become criminals is because there is a need for, especially for men, there's a need for like that male bonding. And then who's going to do that male bonding that's not in the household? Somebody that maybe doesn't have the best intent for you, right?
Yeah.
Because other people are like, what kid? I'm busy. I'm trying to do things. And somebody's like, oh, I can get you to run drugs, or I can get you to do whatever. And so you get people or pedophilia or whatever it is. And so the people that are entering the life to those people are not necessarily, acting in their interest.
Well, Zan, that to me falls back on, again, the house and the community and bringing it up. If we start with education, like you were talking about, and we bring the education up, and we get people read at grade level. You don't got to be a savant, but man, if you're in 3rd grade, you should be able to read at 3rd grade level. If you're in 3rd grade, I just personally don't think there's no reason you don't have your multiplications memorized by that point. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to not have them done.
I'm not sure I still have my multiplications memorized, but I get what you mean.
But if I had you do it on a piece of paper, you could solve it. You could write it. You could show your work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have them done. You just don't recall them so often because it's not an everyday thing. But by third grade, you should be able to do that. You know what I mean? Because then we can start working on how do you pay a bill. Well, I don't know how much the bill is going to be. Oh, so that bill equals X. How do we solve for X? We do, it was $145 last month, $150 the month before that, and $147 the month before that. So where's the X on that? About $147 is what your bill's going to be close to. So let's budget for $150 since that's the highest we've seen. You can teach that. Best part is if you teach that, the kids can also teach it at home. You know, Mom, look at the cool thing I learned. I'm running my own house now. You know, can you help me? Mom might not be able to get the math. My daughter taught me the other day quadratic equations. I ain't never used them ever, and I build stuff. You know what I mean? But she's using them for the math. Took her 10 minutes. All of 10 minutes to sit me down and be like, this is how you find this. This is what this is. I'm like, oh, so it's this math with this math, and that equals this. She's like, yeah. And then we just do this. Yep. That's it. Took her 10 minutes to teach me how to do the math she's doing now. Because it was explainable. It was easy. And you could build that up like that. But if we don't, like you said, we don't start with the family, we don't start with the communities, I don't know where we're going to go from there. And if we keep doing the same thing over and over, which that's my biggest problem with society. You know, you had all this stuff that's like, let's do the same thing. It ain't worked in 15 years, but, you know, it didn't work because we didn't try it. It probably didn't work because it just doesn't work. You know, just in general, that concept or that idea doesn't work. You know what I mean? Not educating kids. What does it do? It causes kids to turn to a life of crime, sell drugs. Because I know if I take this and I turn it into that, I made $300. But if you look at it, unless you're Pablo Escobar and you're selling drugs, you're probably making the same wage a McDonald's worker's making. You just work 12 hours. And you get paid the exact same day. You're not waiting until the end of the week to get your paycheck. You got it that day in cash. So you think you're making more. But you put in 12 hours of work. You made this much money. If you did the math, you make $12.50 an hour. That's pretty much what McDonald's burger flipper makes is $12.50 an hour. You make the same he does. You know what I mean? If we could do that, then you could probably show kids maybe that life ain't worth it. You know what I mean? But I don't know, like it's just the constant repeating of the same thing over and over. When we know statistical outcomes, then how do you repeat the successful ones is my question. You know what I mean? And that's, to me, like we were talking about education earlier. Texas used to be this, now they're higher up. How did they do it? What programs did they implement? How did they get their bilingual students and the students that only spoke Spanish to start testing higher? You know what I mean? They probably gave them the test in Spanish. Granted, you want them to learn the English and speak it, but if I give a kid a test in his native language, he might be less stressed in the test. He might be able to actually understand it and comprehend it. Then when we get him back in class, we work on his English. But he still understands the process. He still understands how to do the math. He just knows how to do it in Spanish and not in English yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? You could do that. We don't ever seem to do that. We don't ever seem to take programs that work, that don't have drawbacks, and implement them in other places. We continuously take the same programs like, we could fix it. We just got to change this one thing. It's like, no, it didn't work. It didn't work then. It didn't work in Baltimore. It didn't work in, California. It didn't work in Chicago. Stop doing it. Yeah. Find something different.
I have no idea why they're doing that. I know. Yeah.
I mean, could it possibly be that they want a dumb, submissive society?
I think there is a lot.
Who is they, though?
Yeah, that's always the big question. Who is they?
I know that if another thing that would dramatically improve home life is reduction of drugs. I don't think people realize we're effectively in an opium war with China, right?
You're talking about the fentanyl and all that stuff?
Anything. Like, so ultimately, if you look at, I don't know of a single person who's in foster care that drugs didn't play a role. That's directly or indirectly.
And anybody I've seen their family court case that I've been at, when it's a severe case, every single one of them has
any
drugs
case
involved.
Directly or indirectly.
Yeah,
period.
They all directly have drugs involved at the family court level.
Yeah, and then you so it's like, and so if it wasn't the parent having drug problems, it was living in an area where drug problems were affecting that, or a family member, or one of the kids' parents, I guess the grandparents using drugs that's echoing down onto them. Drugs is like, people look at drugs and they talk about like people who use drugs and how it affects how they use the drugs, but whatever. And that's like one argument. But if you look at this from like a societal influence point of view, drugs is the most toxic, corrosive thing ever, period. Right? And if any foster kid knows this, even though maybe not consciously, subconsciously, but they're aware. Like, you just ask them like how drugs have affected them.
Yeah.
Now, we had a foster kid a while back, and she was like, "Well, I don't blame the drugs. I blame my parents because they still knew better." I don't care if they knew better. If the drugs weren't there, like, and there's a lot of people I know that know better that still do them. So getting rid of them is like, sure, some casual pot smoking person who has their life together suffers. Fuck that person. We're like sending like millions of people into the fucking meat grinder so you can smoke your weed on the weekend. Fuck you. I don't care. Right. Yeah. And it's not like I think that weed makes you do all the crazy shit it did in like all those old commercials they showed you. But ultimately, melt into the couch. The entire like gambit of it, I see the impact that it has on society, and it's not good.
Would you get rid of alcohol too?
I don't know.
I'll tell you, statistically, every single murder that's ever committed, 50% of them, one of the parties is intoxicated. Statistically, that's the number.
Yeah.
You know how many of those are ever?
Is it 50%?
50% of all.
Is that locally or U.S.?
50% of all murders in the U.S. One of the parties involved is intoxicated.
Well, you know what I tell you, the truth is,
because you'll get DUIs on that. You'll get domestic violence that go to that. You get bar fights that go to that. You get people at a Chargers game or a Raiders game that fight somebody. He falls, cracks his head on something. Now he's dead. That counts.
Okay.
As a homicide or murder. So 50% of them, one party is intoxicated with alcohol.
So I'll answer that with the truth, which is we cannot know. We cannot know. We must do one before we can decide on the other, because the people that are doing drugs, would they just as likely use alcohol in that place and do things just as bad? We cannot know, right?
Oh, you're talking about like self subscribe,
anything like
self medicate, yeah.
So whether you self medicate anything. So you take a look at all the foster kids and like their parents didn't take care of them because they focused on drugs first.
Yeah.
Or they got on drugs and then they did harm. Or they were so monetarily motivated for drugs that they were willing to like sacrifice their kids for that. Because I know a lot of people don't know, but a lot of child prostitution has to do with parents selling their kids for fucking drugs, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're looking solely domestically. And I realize there's a lot of crazy shit going on the border. But domestically, the kids that are born here to Americans, generationally American, that end up in prostitution, a lot of it has to do with parents selling their kids for drugs, for drug money.
Yeah.
And sometimes even drugs directly. They don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
And so it's so corrosive. I imagine
that's higher drugs though than marijuana? Like it's
usually
meth, coke.
But I don't know how you draw a line and yeah, it's almost always higher drugs for sure, but I don't know where you draw the line and how that works, and maybe you just start one thing at a time. But can you even do selective enforcement of drugs, right? Like ultimately you have to eradicate movement. Let's say you legalize pot, and then or not even legalize.
Well, you know, marijuana is a Schedule 1 narcotic.
Yeah, I do. I know that's overrated and higher than some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But in general, the movement and the smuggling path of marijuana that can be created from solely marijuana will also inevitably be used for harder drugs.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know that you can allow one and truly stop the others. And so that's my concern.
Actually, if as a society, you'd have to bring back public shaming. You know what I mean?
It's not a way anywhere. People just don't do it as much.
Yeah, it's not illegal, but people don't do it.
Public shaming?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Bring back public shaming. And then with the harder narcotics, like I say, if you smoke weed and you got weed on you, it's not a ticket. It's not nothing. It's to me, and I don't smoke weed. I'm straight edge. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't even take aspirin. But to me, you having a joint when you get home is no different than you popping the top on a 6-pack. Long as you don't leave your home and go drive afterwards, whatever. But to me, if you're like you're talking about now, if you're doing crack, heroin, fentanyl, meth, now you get different behaviors. Now you get what you're talking about. You get the, well, you know, my daughter is 16 and everybody seems to like her. And, you know, every time they come over here to give me my meth.
I wish they waited till 16, but yeah.
Oh, trust me, I know. I've dealt with some family court cases. People are evil. And drugs definitely, I think you're right, the nail on the head on that one. Drugs, magnify that by 10. Like, you could take the sweetest person in the world, you put them on meth or PCP, that is a different outcome, a different person, a different being altogether. Maybe,
but still, alcohol, tobacco, any kind of drug, you don't know what that really does to any one individual person. Yeah. Everybody's chemistry is a little different, and it does modify the behavior that they have in their original
what
state.
They are is behavior modifiers,
right?
Uppers, down, or something like that. But I think if you focused on the hard drugs, I think you could get society on board. I think you could. If you could be like, if you're a fentanyl dealer, it's 30 years for a gram.
Well,
that's so we had the story. There's no. But the problem we have with our justice system is, and I've seen this. It's your 5th felony. 2 of them are attempted murders. 2 are armed robberies. You're caught with a pistol. It's supposed to be a year for every round in the mag. That's what the rule is. It's supposed to be a minimum 5 years. You'll see that guy out in 2.
I think the years per bullets is fucking silly. Who carries around a gun that isn't fully loaded?
I get that, but I mean, like, to me,
let me partially load it because I'm only going to shoot 3 people.
Well, I always thought if you wanted to get the Democrats their magazine capacity thing, that's how you do it. If you're a felon and you're caught with a magazine higher than 10 rounds, which is what the Democrats want, they want nothing more than 10 rounds, and you're committing a felony, it's a year for every round. So you got a 30-round mag on a Glock with a switch. That's 20 years, bro. End of story. That's for the mag. That's not just the switch, the FFL problem, the ATF problem, all the other problems you're going to go through. For the mag, you're going to get 20. Now you might get criminals to start thinking, I think I'm going to only carry a 10-round mag. Now it does suck.
What does it matter?
The magazine is the
but like it doesn't matter. Like you're going to shoot somebody. You're usually going to go out and shoot one person. It doesn't matter if you have 900 bullets or 2.
No, they go out and shoot crowds. They almost never shoot the person they're going for. I mean, you just had it in a parish somewhere. It's down south, I think. Dude couldn't get a hold of the dude he was having a problem with. Cool. Went and shot his son. Just start spraying at the dude's house while his son was out on the patio. I think if as a society, if we actually started enforcing laws instead of like what you're talking about, you know, you get caught with these hard drugs and you're selling them, you're a detriment to society. Because like you said, it ruins the whole community.
So that guy couldn't get a hold of that guy that he wanted to shoot.
So he went and shot the kid's house, shot the whole house, shot the kid on the patio.
Let me ask you this. Was that beef potentially, maybe, possibly involving drugs?
Drugs or gangs. Or I'll tell you, actually, I'm going to tell you, and here's a worse one. If you look at it, most men are in prison nowadays behind a situation involving a woman.
Interesting.
Whether it's a bar fight, he caught his girl cheating, he beat the dude to death, or shot her, or shot the house. Almost most men, but this goes back to them not being able to control their emotions when they find a situation themselves in by being raised by a single mother. Mm-hmm. So they take their anger that they never learned how to deal with and never learned how to control. They take that, and if you look at most situations, most men are in prison behind a situation involving a woman. Not saying it's the woman's fault. It's the man's fault for not controlling his emotion.
Unfortunately, there's a lot coming from that side too.
But that's what I'm saying. It's the man's fault for not controlling his emotion, but it's because he caught his girlfriend cheating. He got into a fight with a dude over a girl. There was a girl who just got.
But I don't think that's a new thing.
No, it's not. But I'm saying a girl just got 3 men put in prison. She got disrespected on a bus. She called them while she's on the bus. They came to the bus and shot the bus up. All 3 men are going to prison because of her.
3 men shot the bus up?
Oh, yeah. They shot a city bus up. Not here. It was like...
What kind of 3 guys go to the call for...
But I'm saying they went to bat for their friend, their girl. I mean, she couldn't have been with all 3 dudes. I mean, maybe one was her boyfriend. You know what I mean?
That's my point, I guess.
You know, like maybe one was, but the others were like, well, we're going to ride because
I mean, I've been on the internet. I know that she can be with 3 guys at once.
She can be. I don't know. But, you know, but just in general, but that's my thing. So, like, I think if you started enforcing, like, the drug laws and, like, the gun laws, you would see a decrease in crime only because, one, they're not back out being able to do it. You know what I mean? Because what's the recidivism rate? You know, if he's going to rob an arms store 2-3 different times, he's going to shoot up a neighborhood. Maybe he didn't hit anybody, you know, because they can't aim anyways. But, dude, you let 15 rounds go in a neighborhood filled with children. You should have 15 attempted counts of murder. Because that's 15 people you could have killed. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to plug it down to discharging a firearm in a public place, and we're going to give you 5 years, and then you'll be out in 2. Then he gets out and he does it again.
This just gets too convoluted as far as listing what the individual things are. It should be some mandatory minimum sentence. If you have a gun and you've discharged it in public and towards people.
So there is, but they don't enforce it anymore. So it's a mandatory 5 years. The dude
without
will be out
any
in
restriction.
2.
No, without any restriction.
But that's
right.
my thing.
Just holding the line on what the punishment is.
That's it.
I think we tried to go with some of this with the kiddo when we had her here.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you with all this and the guns and such, but
and that goes back to the drugs.
I don't know that I've heard
minimum.
I don't know that I've heard a foster care story, and I know that foster care is not everything, and I know that there were shootings when I was growing up, but like those don't impact everyone, and they don't impact that often, and drugs daily.
Yeah, but that's
everyone.
We don't like she said, we don't hold the line at all. So if you're caught dealing fentanyl, personally, just my opinion, front line to the electric tray, you go. We're just sending you straight to the front line. There's absolutely no reason for you to deal fentanyl. You want to sell a little weed? I don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. I mean, you can go buy it at the corner store pretty much nowadays, like a pack of cigarettes. You know, you can go get pre-rolled joints. Go do that.
It becoming legal to do that doesn't still not make it right.
But I know, but I mean, the fentanyl, you know, it kills people. You know what I mean? So either you personally have the intention of I want to see what this chaos causes, or I want to see what it kills. Just like with the other drugs. You know, you start bringing drugs in the area. Back in the day when I grew up, people sold drugs. They never sold drugs to kids. If anybody in that neighborhood caught you doing that, you get 86. That's eight miles out, 6 feet down.
I'm convinced that it's the dealers. I don't know if the problem exists above or below that, not to exclude them.
Yeah.
But
well, supply and demand. If you can't supply it without a severe penalty, like, think about it. If I could tell you I could sell a quarter pound of weed, I buy it for $200, I sell it for $800, I made $400 profit. It took me 35 minutes. I made $400 profit 35 minutes. Somebody might get into that business.
What were you saying?
Well, I don't know where the problem exists, and I'm not sure that we should even, you know, I don't know why the war on drugs failed. I don't know enough about it, but I know that the drugs are like waging war on us.
Yeah.
And I know that part of what's going on is it's effectively the second or third, I think it's actually technically the third opium war, because I guess there were 2 prior to current modern times. The opium war is, do you know what the opium war is? I don't know, the guest might know.
You had the one with what is it, right before the 60s, you had that one. Then you had the one in...
do you know the details of it? Who was affected by what?
No.
So effectively, the British was smuggling opium into China.
Oh, the China one, okay.
And then they this was called the Opium War. I think that it ended up kinetically, but China could see the impact that it was having, right? And so the issue was way beyond a trade, because it was about the impact that it was having, and it was having such a toxic impact on China, wherever they would trade the opium. Yeah, people would just fucking not do anything anymore. Like it was.
Oh, you talking about like the opium dens and stuff where they would just veg out and.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if opium's like, or any drug, hard drugs is like pouring acid on a society. You fucking just start tearing through that shit, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Affecting the individuals in that society. Yeah. The society degrades.
It eats everything.
Yeah. It's so toxic. And you have, because it takes one person like, let's just say that the drugs only hit one person out of many. That person literally stops functioning and starts doing harm.
Yeah. Like, they start really becoming a detriment to their own community. Yeah.
That's a crazy impact.
Yep.
Right? When you measure it like that, and you forget all the, it was first day, he did this and that. Ultimately, one person does a 180. Mm-hmm. And then that person increases the likelihood that other people do a 180. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like a virus. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
so,
that guy is a dad, and he's not now anymore a father.
Now he's a thief and an abuser and
influencing other kids.
Probably at that point, probably a predator of some sort.
Yeah, a pimp. Even if he's not having sex with the kids, he's trading the kids for drugs.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so quick. If people, one of the things is people think that this sounds far-fetched, that it's uncommon. But
what, you just explained, they think that's far-fetched?
The fact that kids are getting prostituted in America for drugs, people are unaware of that. That's happening in every city by the hundreds. I
don't think they're unaware of it. I'm going to tell you now.
Common people?
Yeah, I don't think common people are unaware of it.
Okay, even before that, though,
do you think it's next to them? Like you said, how it affects the one guy and then the community. I don't think that they be like, what is that? Not in my backyard. It's happening, but it won't happen here. Not in my backyard, it won't. We're a different community. And like you said, no, you're not. Because once that one guy gets infected, it starts spiraling.
Yeah. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's more than 100 people right now at this time. It's more than 100 children are being prostituted in each city in America at a minimum. And the bigger the city, it's an insane number.
Yeah, it'd have to be.
And so so I remember we would talk about we were being foster parents, and these are the types of things we encountered. And people, like, you tell them, like, they were removed from the home because the parents were trying to, like, sell their access for drugs. And people are like, what? They had no idea. And then we're like, that happens a lot.
Do you think they purposely put the blinders on? Because, I mean, I've known about this since I was a kid.
Who?
I think
do you think who put the blinders on?
The people that he's talking about, they're like, oh, wow, that actually happens. Like, there's no... I mean, with all the information we have nowadays, there's no way they don't know that that's a thing.
I don't know that you can say that. Because you're informed doesn't mean that everyone else knows that. They live in their own bubbles.
I think people are unaware how poorly informed people are on these things.
They see society going on, people going to plays, taking their kids to and from. Kids might be weird, but they are not informed on what the effects are on kids that have experienced this. So it's not common to know that. I didn't know about this. I come from an upper middle class family, and all of this I had no idea until I met him, until maybe I talked to some other people that were outside of my bubble.
Yeah.
No clue. This stuff was probably even happening to kids that I went to school with, that I was in high school with. Now, the school that I went to, it wasn't great, but I didn't think it was that bad. Yeah. And even if I saw these kids, maybe some of my friends walking around experiencing some of this, there's no way I would know. Obviously, I was a kid and I had my own problems and puberty and things that I was going through, but my parents didn't talk to me about it. They probably didn't know any other families going through this. We didn't really know our neighbors. I mean, this was like 20 some years ago, almost 30 years ago. I was in school. There's no way I would know this. So I think maybe socioeconomically, there are some things happening that, if you're in this class, sure, you just think everybody lives up here. Because you don't go to the neighborhoods that are in this class.
So with that, because that makes a lot of sense. So what I am doing is I'm projecting myself onto others and expecting myself of others.
Yeah.
And with you saying that, it's not your fault. Yeah. You just don't understand that I wouldn't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it since I was like 6, 7 years old. We would see a girl go to a dude's house, and we know what was going on. The mom was taking her over there to get some money for rent, or get, the dude had power and could sign her Section 8 stuff, and it was favors for things like that too. You know what I mean? And
I grew up.
Yeah, I can see that.
I was traded for drugs. Actually, unfortunately, not for sex, for something far worse. To a person who took pleasure from torturing me, and so I was traded to a specific person for a long period of time. I thought that didn't happen. After that, I thought that was that only ever happened to me. That doesn't exist in the world.
You thought you were just the exclusion
I thought I was the only
whole
one.
rule of society.
And a lot of things that I went through, I thought that I was the only one, and I knew that there was other stuff going along. But I left some of that area. Mm-hmm. My family that lived in those areas, they don't know that happened. They don't know that happens around them, but it does. So I don't know, some people, maybe they just see something because they happen to live in view of something, but most people have no clue that happens.
With that being said, then what she said, like taking what you both said, and you said that the war on drugs have failed. What if it hadn't? What if that was their intended purpose?
Maybe. But what do we do now, right? That's my thing.
I think now you'd have to, with what you said and what she said, one, you'd have to shine light on it, because you saying that people from the higher up just didn't notice it, and me and him being here, we both noticed it. He lived through it. You know what I mean?
I didn't. Well,
but you say you lived through it.
I lived through it, but I didn't even know.
You never saw it. You know what I mean? So that's three different stories right here. I think you'd have to shed a bright light on it. But then after that, I think as a society, one, we need to start holding attorney generals accountable, holding lawmakers accountable. Look, it's real simple. We're going to recall you. We don't care that it costs $60,000 of taxpayers' dollars every time we do a recall. If you do not put your foot on the throat of this problem right now, we're going to recall you every single time. So you won't get these people that are like, well, yeah, he did this thing to this kid, but, we're the mandatory is 15 years, but we're going to give him 6 and he'll be out in 4 with good behavior, because when he goes in there, he's not going to mess around. He's going to be quiet and into his shell because he doesn't want anybody knowing what he's in there for, because they'll mess him up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think if we don't start holding it accountable, shining the light on it, and exposing it. Like you guys saw it from the foster care standpoint. I saw it from the people I live next door to and from the family court standpoint.
I saw a lot of stuff that I think a lot of people were not aware of. And then I saw stuff, or I encountered stuff that happened to me. I thought I was the only one. We went through foster care training to become foster parents, and they're going through this stuff. And I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't beve
You're hearing your story again.
There's a fucking page on there about stuff that so one of the things when I eventually was removed from my dad's home and I went to get my stuff, I went into kinship care, which means I just went to live with my grandmother basically. It was a whole process. It's not that simple, but part of what had happened was, he took my stuff and put it in trash bags and put it out with the trash. Right, to fuck you, you're whatever, to the fuck you to me, so that I had to then go and open the trash bags and figure out which was my stuff and which was trash, and take my stuff that was in trash bags. That sounds like the most far-fetched thing that you could hear, that somebody would do that. It's a fucking page in the foster care training thing. I'm on the other side of the country, and this is apparently so common that it
has its own name.
It has its own page where they talk about trash bags and people putting their stuff, literally dedicated to exactly that, and how common that is, and how that affects people, and the trauma associated with it, and how you should never put kids' stuff in a large bags when you're moving them, and all that stuff, because that's how common it is.
So you don't want them to relive that trauma.
It signifies that they are trash.
Yeah, that's the psychological I was thinking about when he said it.
Well, for people that are watching this, they need to have that understanding that because now their stuff is in bags, they are now considered trash.
Yeah.
Because what happens to them and anything that they do, they are not part of society. They're just something to be disposed.
Yeah, and it's almost like a second psychological abuse that they send you out with the middle finger, like you said.
Yeah,
it's his final fuck you.
Now I think
I'm done with you.
I think that me and my dad had been in a physical altercation prior to that, and there was a lot of beef, and so I think it was very much his intent to do that, and obviously he put it with the trash.
Yeah.
But it's actually not uncommon for foster kids to put their stuff in trash bags because it's the one implement that you have to gather up your stuff and put it in. You don't necessarily have boxes, and so you're supposed to not even let them do that because they'll do that. And like there's this whole echo of like
repeating
things like because even because what I'm saying is that thing exists on a spectrum from the nefarious intent to the innocent foster kid who maybe even never had that happen to them, that just gathers it up. And then that foster kid, he gathers it up in trash bags, or she or whatever. And then with no bad intent to move from A to B, and then goes from A to B, but encounters other foster kids along the way, arriving with their stuff in the trash bag, and like further cementing that perspective. And it will cause a trauma echo even in the most innocent sense. So it's this, but I thought it was the only fucking person and to ever experience that. So I guess my dad wasn't that creative is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, that's
Way
the
to
problem
spin
too,
that.
right? Most abusers are never that creative anyway. You know what I mean? But but something like that, I mean, that story's got to get out there. Thank you for sharing it too. You know what I mean? Like, I know you guys have talked about it before, you know what I mean? But people need to hear stuff like that. Like I said, I couldn't fathom that she didn't know that could have occured until you said it. And you're like, I lived here. You lived here. Stop putting me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't, and that's, I think we all do that too. It's like we expect ourselves from other people. Like, if I know it and I'm just a little low person, there's no way you wouldn't know. Why didn't you know? Yeah. And then when you explained it, I was like, well, shit, that's probably why she didn't know.
Most people in the middle class, when they hear people addicted to drugs, they think of it like somebody who like can't stop itching an itch, right? They're like, oh, you know, they're having trouble paying their bills and they're like just having trouble managing it. And like they imagine this person inside their house, dang, I wish I could just not be doing these drugs all the time, but I guess I'm really hungry for some, right? Like they think of it like you can't resist your hankering. What is it? What's the thing where you're like hungry for urge? Whatever it is where you have like a specific like taste for something, like food, right? Like
craving.
I think it's hankering. Craving. There we go. Yeah. Craving. Yeah. So they can't resist their cravings for this delicious thing. That's how they see it. They have no idea that there are people who like freak out when they're not on drugs and do it and like pass out in the fucking streets. And like cars are driving by and like somebody comes over and pushes them over into the gutter. Like the spectrum of the realities are really far apart. They're really far apart, I assure you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have no idea that there are people who, like, just will keep doing it, and they'll be like, you're going to die on this hit, and they'll be like, yeah, sure, as long as I get it, right? Like, they have no idea how far this goes. It goes crazy far. They don't understand that.
Is this also not indicative of some other things in that person's mindset, potentially? They either lost a job that they were barely scraping by to have.
Oh, there's a lot to it.
They lost their home. They potentially lost like someone in their life that was super significant. Well, they also don't have a purpose. So they think all of these other things, or they've experienced some horrible trauma. I mean, those are just five of the list.
Trauma seems to be one of the key ones I've seen from people that use like higher level narcotics. You know what I mean? Like most people I know that smoke weed because they've been smoking weed since they were 12 and it was a cool thing to do in school. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to go to lunch and smoke with my buddies and then we're going to go eat all the hot Cheetos. You know what I mean? But like you just said, trauma, I've seen anybody I've seen.
I couldn't get with you on that. Sorry.
I never did it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, sure. But the trauma, yeah, I think that's everything I've ever seen from that is trauma. And it's like, as a society, I think with men, we don't ever validate men's trauma. And with women,
that's a huge problem.
Women, I think we over-validate the things that they go through as trauma. Like, the dude whistled at you. That's not traumatic. You're a good-looking woman. He's going to whistle at you. Now, he comes touch you on the butt. Now you got a problem. You know what I mean? Like, so we'll take the small thing for women, like, oh, it's so traumatic, we got to shield them. No, women are strong. They don't need you to shield them. They just need you to be there. I think the same thing with men. We don't need you to shield us. We need you to be there. But, like, a lot of the abuses and things I've done with people like from family court and counseling, like with a man telling the story, because I know that story occurs, I know that happened. Other people, I've seen people like, that happens to guys. Yes. Yes. It really does.
Yes, guys are traded for drugs. Yes.
Yes. But you're saying like I've seen people react in it when they hear the story. They're like,
so
and sex isn't the worst thing, right?
So there are some other statistics on same-sex marriages and, of course, heterosexual marriages. It's something like the lowest domestic violence between marriages of heterosexual is two men, or excuse me, same-sex marriages is men. The second highest, or the lowest is two men. The middle is a man and a woman, and the highest is women. 2 women.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they have the highest rate of divorce too.
Women are quick to absolve themselves of violence. I know that that's a problem too. They think that it has nothing to do with them. It's exclusively a man's thing, and yet
40% of all domestic violent cases are the women's the aggressor.
Yeah.
40%.
Yes.
Which is crazy when you look at it. If you were to take 100 men and 100 women, you would find more violent men than you would women. You know what I mean? Just in general, like who's capable of violence, who does violence. But if you put them together, 40% of the time, the woman will be the aggressor.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the words and the agitation that a woman can bring upon a relationship is far
I've
detrimental.
had several relationships where the girl struck me.
Okay. I had one.
Well, maybe only 2, I think.
Where a girl told me she knew I didn't love her. And I was like, how? Because you don't ever hit me. What? And then about 6 months later, she decided to pull a knife. Well, we were having a conversational dispute about what she was doing with her free time.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's time for me to go. And I did. So.
Wow.
But yeah, literally straight told me, I know you don't love me because you don't hit me. But that's because her father and her brother both hit their spouses.
And let me ask you this. So we talk about that hitting spouses and we talk about the trauma. And I agree that people that turn to drugs, trauma. I agree. And I agree that that's bad. But also, was that trauma that was inflicted upon them, the people that turned to drugs, not directly or indirectly a result of drugs?
Oh, I could see it.
It's a vicious fucking cycle.
That's what I'm saying. I can see. I think drugs probably top 80%. Accountability from society is right up there. You know what I mean? Because like if you know nobody's going to come to protect you, but not only nobody's going to come protect you, but the guy that's selling the drugs and causing the harm to the community, he'll be out in 6 months. So what's the next guy going to do? Well, if you arrest me, I'll be out in 6 months too. I'm going to sell drugs too. You know what I mean? And you get the constant cycle, and then now everybody's infected with the drugs and the poison, and then you get the abuse, and you get the repeatedness, and you get...
His dad just needs to tell him not to do it. It's pretty much what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Well, his dad, who's not selling drugs.
I get what you're saying about focusing on the dealers, and I know that people think that it's not appropriate or fair to like impose crime on the users, but it's a problem.
You'd have to. But I'm saying if you could really hold the dealers accountable for like, a joint is personal use for sure. That's you smoking a joint, whatever. You come with an 8-ball of Coke, bro, that's for a lot of people. That means you're distributing. That means you're doing, community destruction.
Outreach.
So you get the harsher penalty. You know what I mean? Now, if you're breaking into people's house and I catch you with one crack rock, yeah, you got to do, 6 months in prison plus 6 months of a rehab. You know what I mean? Like you could figure it out. But that's the problem. I don't think society, one, isn't trying to figure it out, and two, when we actually finally do get it figured out, they don't hold anybody accountable to getting it done. They don't make you finish that program. You know what I mean? Oh no, you can get out. Oh, you showed up 4 months out of 6. It's okay. You're off probation. No, he needs to be there 6 months. He needs the recovery. He needs to heal from the trauma, express it, talk about it, get off the addiction, so that when he goes back out to society, he's a productive member and he doesn't have what she was talking about. A traumatic thing happened. Oh my God, I lost my job. Well, gotta go back to smoking crack. You know what I mean? Because that's going to happen. You're going to lose your job. Traumatic things are going to happen. And he never healed. You know what I mean? And as a society, we never helped him.
I just think that, and it's very difficult. And then I'm putting responsibility into the government, which is not necessarily the most efficient organism, but or organization, whichever you want to call it. I like an organism intentionally.
Both.
Yeah. You got to hit it from everywhere. And I realize people have given a lot of pushback because they're like, this disproportionately affects these people or this, that. And I just don't care, because drugs is worsely affecting people than the criminal justice system is. I promise you. You have no idea. No criminal justice system cop has ever like come down so hard that it resulted in like kids getting raped. Come on. But drugs has, right? Like, I promise you, it's worse. Drugs are worse than inequality in criminal justice. They are. And so I really think that we should like really like do more to like.
I agree with you on that, especially like if you start with the dealers, then you can get what you were talking about earlier about the supply lines. You know, then you can start, you know, once you start collapsing organizations that are like that, you know, that have a head honcho that go down to the dealers and the other dealers, then you get down to the users. If you start up here, you start lopping off heads, you know what I mean? Figurative or literally. I honestly don't care. You know what I mean? Because like you said, you're trafficking children and you're selling fentanyl.
At some point, you need to make a good, clear example of what it is.
Well, you're trafficking fentanyl, but you're also selling kids. I don't think a prison sentence really works. You know what I mean? And like, to me, like, and I tell people this all the time, especially when we like do death penalty cases. I've never understood death penalty cases. Like, we have one here where these guys shot a pregnant woman. I think it's at Lee's Discount Liquor. They shoot her. She's a cashier. They shoot her. They're on camera. It's them. There's no maybe not, you know, we're not too sure. It's 100% them. Why, as a society and the parents of that girl, why are we paying taxes to house these guys? If they get beat up, we pay for their infirmary bill. We pay for them to get their teeth fixed. We pay for their meals. You're on camera doing the criming. You should go to the front of the line. Just, here you go. You're on camera selling these drugs and being, you know, a head leader of a cartel that's pimping kids and abusing people and affecting communities. You go to the front of the line.
I don't know why we don't do that either.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't.
And I guess I think what we're touching on here, whether we mean to or not, is that it's complex and that one begets the other and so on in this vicious cycle. You know, crime is a result of drugs and drugs are a result of crime and so on. And
well, even before that too, I think you
trauma.
I think you talked a lot about how some people that are maybe more intelligent are being outbred by people that are maybe less intelligent, which is a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
But it also is indicative of how society has potentially degraded over time because of that factor.
But even if you put aside eugenics and you just look at people in situations that have the means to be a parent without introducing trauma versus people who are in shitty situations or outbreeding those people 100 to 1.
Yes.
So that's a problem too.
Not just that, but in general with the education. I mean, NASA did a study where I believe it's from the age of birth to the age of 7, kids operate at genius level. You can put them in a room, give them puzzles to solve, and they solve them. Takes some time for some kids, a little more, but they end up solving them. After the age of 7, all the way to the age of 12, and what happens at the age of 7 to the age of 12? What do we do as a society?
I'm going to have to push back to you on that one, because parts of the brain may not have developed that were the relevant parts that had the, you know, differentiating traits of intelligence. There's a perfectly reasonable explanation for that doesn't involve society. I'm not saying that society is not a problem. We're definitely in agreement on that. That's what this whole thing has been about. But I don't know that I agree that that's an accurate measure of society.
Well, they did it to the kids all the way. You know what I mean? Like, they kept testing them all the way to, I think, high school, 12th grade. But between the ages of 0 to 7, the kids operated at genius level. Like they could solve whatever NASA gave them that was within the realm of that age bracket. But after the age of 7, that's when they would see kids drop. Like other kids.
But I'm interested to know what you were
I hear what you're saying
about.
But like all the way up till like 5 or 6, like parts of the brain, like they're developing parts of the brain like all the way through, right? That's part of the reason we've set the law for the ages, which I have some opinions about that too.
Yeah, me too.
So they some of them are, you know, but they literally haven't developed the portion of their brain that will be the differentiating factor. So you're saying at the simplest lizard brain, they're equal. And I'm saying, sure, they're probably equal society or no society. You're changing the measurement once they go past 7 to account for the fact that they are 7. And now you're seeing a differentiation. But even if you isolated those, right, like people from society, you probably still going to see that differentiation when that part develops, right? But you can't do that. You can't perform that experiment. The experiment's flawed too, right? Now, I mean, I still think you can learn something from a flawed experiment because you still get inklings of things that are hypotheses that lead to non-flawed experiments. Yeah. Right. People have no idea. Like they're like, your experiment was botched. Well, sure, but you took that, you had a hypothesis, and then you ran a good experiment that was not botched, and you get good science. Like there's a lot of ignorance about science.
I'd have to look further into the experiment to explain it better. But from what I understand is they had control factors, but what caused the decline is when the kids started enrolling in public school and started mimicking the lower intelligent behavior of their peers so that they didn't seem smarter because they didn't want to be the nerd.
I'm definitely concerned with that in a big way, actually that exact problem, but for a different reason. Like, so I agree that that's a problem. Even without that study, that's a problem. I think in general, historically, kids were not had in large groups and did not operate in large groups. And so a child
of their same age group.
Of their same age group. Yes, correct.
Yeah, it's usually what 2 years difference between each kid, correct?
Yeah. But the child has an experience where they grow up in society where they're the only new person and they're integrating with all these things, and the parents are bringing them with them to like pick the apples and then pick the apple and hand it to the kid. The kid is involved in society in a way from a very young age. Kids are literally not involved in society now until they're 18. Like in the way that kids used to be, like they're not involved until they're 18. No kid is helping their parent at work today until they're past 18, right? Or virtually none.
Well, it happens less frequently. Let's just say that. There's still some.
Sure. And even if it happens now, it happens at a much younger age. But you used to be integrated and grew up in these things. Yeah. So, of course, you were going to like be good at your job. You like were around it from birth. You went to the blacksmith thing and saw the forge, like all of this stuff. Now, like it's so disconnected. And that's partly because the schools are babysitting. And then you're right. Kids being with kids, whether you even take an intelligence difference or not. In fact, I bet if you took a bunch of geniuses, 200 geniuses, and put them all together, at some point somebody's going to act immature. People are going to respond to that, and then there's going to be this whole curbing of mob mentality where you're going to like drive people in a direction
towards that behavior.
I think it's a corrupting element. Period. Whether you think they're normalizing to the lowest. I would agree that they're normalizing to the lowest common denominator, but the lowest common denominator might not be specific people. It could be specific behavior.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a problem. Right. And so it's going to be very difficult for us to change that because we've put so much on this whole process and how things work and how schools work to where it's basically like this babysitter and you bring the kids in and you keep them with all the kids their own age. We know because forget all the studies of that. We know that generally kids at 18 now are way less mature than kids were at freaking 12,
and you see it
4 years ago.
Well, you see a mature 18-year-old and you're like, whoa, how did they even get there? Yeah. And you're like, how old are they? Is that really their age?
Here's one for you. Back then they used to have shotguns in the back of their trucks at school. So your 12, 13, 14-year-old brother who's driving with his 18-year-old brother had shotguns in the back of the truck at school. As soon as they got out of school, they drive from school and go shoot. The 12-year-old's shooting, mature, responsible. The 18-year-old's driving, and, they're shooting. Now, like you said, 18 years old, immature, nothing, no accountability, no nothing. Now, is that from school? Is that from society? And if it's from all of it, what do we do to fix it? Is like my theory is like you'd have to have accountability, you'd have to find programs that work, and you'd have to start I don't want to say force feeding it to the public, but telling the public this is very plain and simple. Like the situation we had at Rancho High School about the 15 kids. Do you guys know about that?
No.
think I
We're not
heard about
that
this.
locally
They
informed.
they 15 to, I think it's like 15 to
Oh, actually,
18
they
kids.
beat up a kid.
They beat him to death.
Oh, yeah.
I think I did hear about that.
Yeah,
To me,
and I saw the video.
To me, like at a certain point, there is a difference between, an 18-year-old who's clearly not understanding of what's going on and things like that, and a 15-year-old who clearly knows, was smiling, enjoying, had complaint intent, and was kicking the person in the head, knowing, we all know what happens. You kick somebody in the head 15, 20 times. No, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that. You mean, now, why are there no charges as an adult? Why are there no accountability as a society? And I think if we did it, you'd only have to do it a few times. Just like, like with people that traffic kids. If you actually punished these people, you'd only have to do it a few times. Like plain and simple. You did this. This is you on camera doing it. Here's you at a firing range. You're going to get executed by a firing range. Plain and simple. That's how we're going to do it. It's going to cost 33 cents for the taxpayers for each bullet. That's what it costs.
I wish I already had the government in their $1 million firing range. You mean?
I mean, I think
We just rebuilt our execution chamber. We just rebuilt it. I think we spent $6.8 million taxpayer dollars.
Well, there you have it.
We haven't executed anybody since the 70s.
You talk about, and then you're going to tell me it's 33 cents for the chemical.
It's 33 cents for the bullet, but I mean, I don't know what they're going to do for the range. You're right.
But it's $700 an hour for the guy who pushes the thing, and $700 an hour for the other guy who supervises him. And
and then the guy that's got to come clean it up too, But that's what I'm saying. We have no accountability in society at all, and I don't understand it because everybody is complaining about the same stuff we're complaining about. I mean, no matter where you turn, no matter what you look at, and whether it's in the news, whether it's amongst your own peer group, everybody's like, why is it like this?
I think there just still needs to be some other metric that we can do where can't we just send people to go serve in the Army, in the Marines?
Forced conscription?
Yes. You have done horrible things now, and
the military is getting diluted as is. But
my only problem with something like that is and it's the same problem I have with criminals. And I tell people this all the time when we talk prison reform. I don't like you taking somebody who is a cartel guy, he traffics kids, he knows how to, and he knows how to traffic guns. Then you put him in prison for 15 years, where all he does is just bring drugs into the prison, but now he's working out. Now he's dieting. Now he's getting in shape. He's becoming more vicious because he's around more vicious people, so he's got to get even more ruthless.
Well, you can get college educated too while he's in there.
Now he gets college educated too, so now he can be his own defense lawyer. The next time he traffics somebody, he's like, well, where's the DNA evidence? Did you get the right thing? Oh, you didn't dot the I on this thing, so the entire warrant's poisonous tree. Now he knows how to actually defend it. So all you've done is make a smarter, more efficient
criminal.
And I think that's what would happen if you did that. You would send these people over there to fight, and they would, because they don't want to die.
I'm not talking about fighting. I'm just talking about going through the military training where they become part of society and are at least that base level and are doing the work and the sweat equity to try to understand what it's like to be part of a society.
You might be able to speak to this, but I believe a few years ago, military had a huge problem of gang members going to the military instead of going to jail or prison. When they got in there, they were getting their gangs involved in the military, and then when they'd come out, they would go do gang member stuff, but with military precision. So they would set up L-shaped ambushes. And they knew how to do it because they learned in the military. And then when they got with their gang members, when they got back out of doing their 4 years, they came and taught their friends how to do it.
Okay.
So I know that happened. I don't know if you remember because it was a big thing.
No, I didn't hear about that.
They would start asking people,
well,
are you gang related? Do you have gang tattoos? Like when they go to MEPS and stuff, they start looking for stuff and asking.
Okay, what do you have to say?
I'm more just, I feel like this is like the branches of the tree, and I really want to get to the roots. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. And obviously you have to address that too, but I'm thinking more like, like I said, like breaking it up, like not having large groups of kids at the same age together, right? I think that what you really want is like a diversity of age, but you have to do it in a way as well that like produces a certain result, right? Mm-hmm. Because sure, at a certain point, that diversity becomes a power dynamic that can be exploited.
Sorry, that should have been shut off.
I'm getting a call, guys.
That should have been shut off.
That's okay.
Oh, careful.
We're editing it. Don't worry about it. So it's not a rush.
Yeah, but I don't want to disrespect your time.
No, that's okay. We'll
I shut all of them off. I don't know why that one was still on.
Well, we can watch the time as well. You know.
It's 4 p.m.
right now. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay,
gotta leave about 5.
So, yeah, I just, and I don't know how you implement this. It's very difficult. We're so far from set up to it, but people just generally need, school is an isolation building, and then grades are further isolation, and the last thing people need is isolation. I realize it becomes incredibly difficult to get people in a certain demographic where their brains are developing at a certain rate, and you need to attend to that too, right? Like somebody whose age whatever, like there literally is accurate science, this is the one thing that school does right, that their brain is developed to a certain point to where they can comprehend a certain set of things, and you can introduce that to them.
Yeah.
I think
What if you did more of a proficiency based education? So like we were talking about earlier, like, okay, this kid's really good at carpentry. Like, we don't know how, we don't know why, but we give him wood and he's cutting it, he's measuring it right, cuts are straight. He can build the thing by looking at the thing. He didn't even need the instructions. And you put him with another kid, like maybe a fifth grader, like he's a seventh grader, and the other kid's a fifth grader. And he's not as good as him, but he shows a proclivity to it too.
But you're talking about shop. That's not school anymore.
I'm talking about everything. Like
it should be, by the way.
It should be in school, yeah.
You're fucking over dyslexic people and poor people with sucking you take shop out of school, you fuckers.
Homeowners, you're going to need to know how to replace a door at some point. You're going to need to know, and homeowners, big key, when you get a home, change the locks and change the screws in your door. They shouldn't be this big. They should be 2-inch screws or 3.5-inch screws.
Now.
But just in general, you should know this. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you take the younger kid in every subject. You know, in science, you know, the one kid's super good and the other kid's good. You know, and you get them together and let me show you the thing I learned. Well, I think they not only learn better that way, but then you get your diversity of age like you're talking about, and you get that hands-on, like, hey, get over here and throw this thing in this beaker, step back and let's watch something cool happen.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's some element of it, and especially having kids teach other kids of varying thing in both directions, because you learn by teaching. Right, because you're forced to process it to explain to the questions. Because you know that's what we're trying to do on a test. It doesn't work very well. But if I asked you to teach me something, you really have this desire to fill my question way more than you do the question on the test, and you then have to go and process it to why I do not understand. So now it's not even an arbitrary fictitious scenario. It's a real world meaningful actual purpose oriented thing where you're like, oh right, then you'd have to, and then you have to explain it. You're getting that thinking organically, and it's so much more effective. But I don't even know how we begin to like implement this, but obviously it's some part of the solution. And even having younger kids with less experience teaching older kids to sort of test them too, like every direction it should be going, like to where things like produce this outcome. And I still think even a wide, you know, assortment of subjects is great, like, but also with practical real world stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if it comes to it and somebody's succeeded and they're tackling things with these, bring biology back in. I'm not, you know, I'm not against biology, and I think it's a great thing to know. I just think it's probably, if I had to measure, the least useful thing that I've ever learned. The only benefit I see to biologists is that I can now, or learning biology in schools, I can hold somewhat of a biology conversation with my biologist friends, because I do have some, and I do that. I literally do. You know, we talk about like bonobos and patterns of behavior and evolution and all that shit. But maybe I could have just achieved all of that by talking to them. I have no idea, but
you would have. And that's the thing. Like, so my daughter, she knew all 206 bones of the body by the time she was 6 years old. She had a skeleton on her front door, and she had to go touch them. femur, tibia, fibula, ulna, radius, patella. You know what I mean? And we're doing it with our son now too, just so that you can know the name of your bones. We're not going into like deeper stuff or, you know, things like that. But it's the touching and the talking that she learned from, not the open the book and look at the book and do the book and write the book and book. You know what I mean? It's what you're talking about. And I like what you said earlier. Make those subjects actual voluntary study. It's not mandatory for graduation, but if you got a period you need to fill and you just happen to really like biology, take a biology course. But learn basic accounting, learn basic wood shop, learn basic math, basic social studies. I mean, think about it. If you're doing social studies and you're learning about all the wars that have ever happened, at some point one of those wars was won by catapults. Let's take you to a shop class and teach you what a catapult actually is, how it's built, the leverage, the lever, the flip. You know what I mean? Boom. Now the kids are so much more involved. Man, did you know in World War I and this war they did this and this, and they had 10 catapults and one dude said this and he could lift a ship out of the thing. People don't know about that. They don't know about like the leverage and stuff like that. Then you get the kids excited with the hands-on. And then,
so I don't know if they do this anymore. You probably are closest to this, but they used to have a bring your parent to school day. And then the parent would come in and talk about the job that they do and potentially see how it's relevant to like a course that's going along in this current school system.
Haven't seen it in 10 years.
I haven't seen that in 10
I'm
years.
thinking that they should do that every year and multiple times a year, and it hasn't
I don't think every parent should also come in. I think they should have a select one that comes in once a week, so it's not completely disruptive. But they also make it very relevant to
the study,
to just incorporating like a different adult that comes in to talk about what they had to do for school or what they learned or what they were interested in order to get them to where they are. And that
give a teacher a break for about 45 minutes and shake up the monotony of the same teacher and same speaker. Like, easily a great idea. But that's my problem. We have all these great ideas. There's no way there's not a school that doesn't already do that. You know what I mean? There's a school somewhere that does that. And I guarantee their grades are higher than ours. Their students' IQs are higher than ours. They test better than us. They have lower crime rate, lower drug use. You know, because the community is involved in stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so we see it's successful. But yet nobody takes that success and is like, I'm just going to pluck that really good idea and put it over here because we need it too.
Right.
And it seems like as a society, we just, no, we're going to do the school the way we've done the school for 20 years because that's how we do the school. We have to get
funding for that.
Yeah. Well, funding, but I would volunteer for free.
No, I'm just saying there's something ridiculous.
Well, that's always their thing. The money with it, the paperwork with it, the this, the that. Yeah, there's hurdles. It's not, I mean, have all the parents do an FBI background check. It's not hard. You go down, you pay $60, you get your fingerprints done. The FBI comes back, yeah, this person's okay. That's it. Simple, easy. Now the dad can come in and teach the thing like you're talking about. And it shakes it up. It makes it fun.
Well, it's simple and easy.
You might even stop some bullying too, because now somebody thinks your dad's super cool. Like, man, your dad does the cool thing. You know what I mean? Hey, don't mess with my friend. Her dad does the cool thing that I want to do. I got to talk to her. You know what I mean? You get more unity between the school. And like you said, you get less of that, such a tight-knit group that now they just bully this group and that group. And you know what I mean? And nobody shares.
I promise you, when we're talking about this idea, if there's a young person watching, they're not thinking about the dad that does the cool thing. They're thinking about how, and this is human nature, where every kid thinks their parent is dumb, how embarrassed they would be of their parent.
Oh yeah, there's definitely.
You could. They
don't
do
need to know whose kid was.
I don't want my dad to come in. He has nothing to share.
No, you could just have that parent go to a different class. There's anonymity. I'm a parent of a cool kid that goes here.
Yeah,
they're not in this class. And don't, unless there's some out that somebody knows this person, you could just remove that element from it.
We have to think about this more, because this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing.
I think you would get more good from it, though.
Having the parent for the kid that you like in the class is of value, but it's also, the kid feels it's a liability to themselves. And I guess with the bullying bullshit, but again, we need to change the way school works too, right? So like,
this is something I also preached when I ran for school board. Mutual combat. I want it to be a law, just completely in general, mutual combat. But say,
can you expound upon what that means?
Mutual combat is basically plain and simple. Me and him get in an argument. I looked at you too long at a bar. It could happen.
Okay.
We get in a dispute. Well, do you want to fight about it? Yes, I do. You too? Yes, I do. As long as no weapons are used and nobody else jumps in and it's just me and him, the result of the fight cannot have a legal chargeable outcome. So if I break his leg or he breaks mine, that's it. That's end of story. I shouldn't agree to fight him.
Nah, I don't agree with this.
Here's
why.
Yeah.
Because this is just the same as bullies are already, like, historically, you know, they're sizable people who are exploiting that, right? So,
but they can't fight because they never fight. I used to beat up bullies at my school.
Okay,
so I got kicked out of school.
Let's say that's a fact.
Myself.
Let's say that's a fact. Okay,
mm-hmm.
They can't fight, and so everybody keeps challenging them, and they're sizable.
They just say no. Then it's not mutual combat.
Okay, but what if they say yes because they're afraid to do whatever? At some point, they're going to know how to fight. 10 fights in.
Also, no. If there's a death in one party, that's not going to be a great look for.
They're probably not going to go that far.
Yeah.
But let's say that the kids are sparring with pads.
Well, no,
the point is, it's just as quickly going to be exploited as the other problem.
But the mutual combat thing is for adults. What I wanted was mutual. What they would do is, like, say I was bullying him in school and I'm bigger than him. If he defended himself, you now got to take a day off of work, come in, have a parent conference. He has to stay home for 3 days, and he did nothing wrong other than duck my punch and punch me in the mouth. I started the fight. I'm the aggressor. I am the problem. The teachers know this. I've started 5 fights. I should be out of that school. He shouldn't be punished because that's not mutual combat. That's me starting the issue with him. You see what I'm saying? But what they'll do is they'll suspend both of us.
Yeah, I still have mixed feelings.
And that's why kids won't defend themselves at school. Because one, I'm going to call your parent. And what did your dad say? Oh, I got to take a day off of work. You cost me a day off of work. You know what I mean? Because I had that. Like I said, I beat up the bullies at my school because I don't like when somebody doesn't want to fight, you're trying to fight them. If you both want to fight and they just can't fight and they get beat, once it hits the ground and it's over, I'm going to knock it off. You lost. Probably shouldn't be fighting. But if you're picking on somebody and they don't want to fight, I'm going to step in every time because I do want to fight. I do want that problem. I want that issue. And I want to show you why you should have left this person alone and just let them be. You know what I mean? So I got in trouble for defending myself or defending somebody else who was being hit with a skateboard. I was defending a kid who was getting hit with a backpack that had books in the backpack. I got jumped by 3 people and still got suspended for defending myself.
I'm not sure that I have a solution for that. I had
similar things where people were like picking on me because I'm autistic. I do strange things. I also learned that I was different from people like at a young age, and I realized that I couldn't fit in because people would talk about what do you like and something, and like all the people would like agree on something, and I'd be like, what? I thought we were talking about something. My opinion is like polar opposite. How did you guys arrive at this?
We would have been best friends.
And then I was like, I would like say stuff and it was like just always awkward. And I was like, what the fuck do I do? And so I didn't know. So very early on, I figured out like, whoa, I'm not thinking on the same wavelength as people. When people are asking one question and all the people are answering like something else, I'm answering and thinking something completely different. And I didn't understand why or anything like that. It was well into my adult life, in my late 30s, that I realized that I was autistic. But I knew that I didn't fit in, and I knew that I didn't think like people. I don't know why, but I realized that the only way to fit in was because I couldn't even answer. I couldn't even like participate, right? Even if I tried to emulate, I was failing. I will fit in by standing out. And so I just became, sort of like comedian, clown.
Class clown.
And yeah. And so this is how I was like, if I can't, I'll just stand out and I'll just make it fun that I'm the guy that stands out. That'll be my role instead of the guy that answers weirdly or whatever, or doesn't understand, because it wasn't working. And that worked. It worked really good.
Yeah.
Being the class clown and whatever. And sure, I was disruptive to classes. I was a liability to your classroom, for sure. Sorry, teachers. I didn't know what else to fucking do. I was kidding.
And they didn't know how to handle it either.
No, they didn't.
Nobody knew about this stuff back then.
And so, but I didn't know how else to fit in, and I was doing it, and it was working for me. It was my only way to socially connect. And then I got into a bunch of fights because I was still, even if I tried to do this other thing, which worked. It worked with girls because that was the most important thing, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't care, but that was most important to me anyway, right? Yeah. And so they were like, "Oh, that guy, he's different. He's doing different things. He's bold." And I'm like, "Yeah." So that was how I did it, but that produced a lot of fights, right? And so I got in a lot of fights, and I often wasn't the person escalating it. Yeah. But a lot of people felt that it was appropriate to escalate with me, and that it was okay to bully me because I was, even though I'd found a way to kind of be cool by standing out, I was still different, and so then it was okay because I was different. And I had a lot of fights, and so if you I mean, would I have chosen the mutual combat thing? Maybe, but I still think if I'm the one who's involved in the most number of fights, because I feel like I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel like in middle school, and I eventually dropped out of high school, I was probably the one involved in the most number of fights, or at least that's what they said to me. Right? They're like, that you've been in here for violence for more than anyone else. As I'm like, I didn't start it. I swear to God, I'm now an adult. I can admit what I did wrong. I did stuff wrong. I didn't start it. I didn't fucking start it.
I never started a single fight at school.
Yeah, ever. I remember, and then
that was our family rule. You're not allowed to start them.
Well, I wasn't my family rule. I just didn't. I wasn't interested in it. I was not. I don't know. Somebody else just felt like they could get away with like exploiting me.
And to me, that goes to there's no accountability to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now your family's inconvenienced because they got to come in for we call them RPC, required parent conference, where you get kicked out of school, your dad, your mom's got to come in, we got to sit with the principal and talk.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, actually,
you never got in trouble, huh?
No.
You were two by up here, huh?
I was.
She's a good. I love it.
But that's my thing. So like, that's what I wanted the schools to do, is like, stop punishing the kid like you. When a kid starts 5 fights, he's the problem. If a kid gets into 5 fights, who started them? Well, dude came over here because he was laughing and he made this person laugh, and this dude didn't like it, and he thought they were talking about it, but they never were. But this dude punched him.
But is it even possible to get to that truth?
Oh yeah. So on all my fights, they got to the truth of everything. You know what I mean? Because one, all the kids would tell the truth, especially about a fight. Oh my God, this happened. Dude came over there, swung. Frank ducked. Frank uppercutted him. It was like a Hadouken from Street Fighter. You know what I mean? Like they over exaggerate things, but you would get the truth of the matter of who started the fight and then how the fight ended. You know what I mean? But that was the problem. So I would get assaulted because one, I was much smaller. I was like 5'7" and like 120 pounds. I was a string bean, but I loved to fight. And I was good at it. And then the kids would pick on somebody like you, and I'd go there, hey, what's the problem? This is my buddy. We're going to hang out. We're going to play hacky sack. We're going to do a rap battle. You're going to leave us alone. Oh, you're going to stand up for him? Yeah, I am. You got a problem with it? Yeah, I'll just beat you a little. Okay, cool. Throw a punch. Find out what happens. And everybody I've ever fought either bled, ended up in the hospital, or was in stitches.
But I don't know where you draw that line. That's the problem.
That's my problem. So like with adults, I don't think you do. Because I look at it like this. I know people who have gotten to bar fights and they didn't start it. Dude came over there, drunk on, like I said, alcohol causes like 50% of all murders. Somebody's intoxicated. Swings, dude hits him, he falls, hits his neck on the thing. Now he's dead. That's not that dude's fault. You came over there looking for the problem. You started all this. Your fault you're dead. Not his. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it would have to be a mutual thing, you know what I mean? But that's why.
I don't know that trying to bring the society down to fisticuffs. I don't think that that's how we should portray that. I think we should still go to a society that can talk about the problem and get to a resolution with our words as opposed to going to physical.
I don't even know.
When you had the fisticuffs on the table, though, it allows people to be politer.
You feel like they're held accountable, is Frank's point.
Yeah. Well, think about it. If I call you the B word and call you all out your name and I'm completely disrespectful, he might fight me. He might not. He might try to talk it out. But if I know for a fact, he can just come over, hey, talking to my wife wrong. Mutual combat? Yeah, mutual combat. I don't know if he's an MMA fighter. We have the highest concentration of MMA fighters in the world. We have people that train with him. He could be the champion's sparring buddy. He might not be good enough to be the champion, but he's good enough to spar with the champion and make the champion a champion. Now I get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
So now next time I look at a woman, I'm going to be like, you stupid. that might not work out too well for me again. You know what I mean? I got my jaw wired shut last time. You know what I mean? It allows people to be more polite because now there's accountability for everything you do. You know what I mean? Now we do talk out our problems. Why'd you talk to my wife that way? Well, dude, you know, she's looking like that. She's looking at me. I'm been a little bit tipsy. I thought she was talking to me. No, she was talking to her friend playing darts. Shit, my bad on the misunderstanding. Now you can have misunderstandings. Right now you have men replying emotionally to situations. You know what I mean? Instead of talking it out. And it's usually somebody that's the aggressor being a bully that's hyping up. Now, if there's a mutual on it and he says, no, I won't fight you. My friend Frank will. And I'll just walk over like, hey, buddy, mutual combat? Yeah, let's go. You want to talk to my friend sideways? You want to talk to his wife sideways? They might not fight you, but I will. Well, now that guy.
I still don't think so. Because I think that so people could just say no. So immediately.
Yeah, then now it's assault on my end if I touch you.
So, but hold on. But it's you're looking at it. You're trying to make it this social consequence, right? That's effectively the goal.
Not just social, but like physical. Because now, if you're disrespectful, you know what I mean. Like,
but it's not physical necessarily because somebody can go around being an ass and always say no.
They could, but eventually, somebody's going to jack their jaw and just accept the assault charge. It's okay.
Yeah, but that's how it is now.
Charge is no, it's not like that. Now they come over there, they yell at you, they're disrespectful, and then they just start swinging on you before you get a chance to do anything.
I don't know how you think you're going to introduce some polite thing when they're already getting to that point without having any kind of discussion.
Yeah. I think Frank's point is about self-defense, really not about the talking. But I still don't know that it works because I feel like the fights, before you can have the conversation, the fight has started by somebody, right? Like it doesn't, I don't know that it would. So you're legalizing and enabling the person that can defend themselves. But what if somebody challenges somebody and before they can answer, that person just hits them? Like it's sure.
Not mutual at that point. So now we charge you with assault, and okay, so he assaulted you and he broke your jaw. Well, now that's assault with malice.
But the fight doesn't stop there.
But I'm saying now that's assault with malice. But now we start charging people that are being these assholes, and we're starting to hold them accountable. So now he does do his full 6 months in county, and his family owes you your jaw getting wired shut. They owe you the price, how much it cost you for work, what you had to go through. Now we start holding them accountable. So now not only are they less likely to do it from a legal standpoint, they're less likely to do it from a physical standpoint too.
Hold on. So what's really different though? Because things can escalate to a fight and there are charges associated with that. So what's really different about it?
What's different about it is, one, you can have the mutuality of it, which now means me and you get in a fight. Say nothing crazy happens. You get a black eye, I get a busted lip. You get a black eye, I get a busted lip, and that's just the result of the fight. Well, now the police don't have to come out. They don't have to waste resources. They don't have to charge both of us with what's called a fray. We don't have to go to court for an assault and a fray. We don't have to have possible misdemeanors on our record. We just like, hey, we agreed to it, and I bought him a beer because he totally won. You know what I mean?
I just don't see how this doesn't
get to that point.
I don't know.
I don't see how it doesn't result in some sort of equivalent or worse exploitation.
What could be exploited about it? What's already being exploited? Somebody just coming up and socking you in the mouth?
Our society is very...
They're already playing the knockout game.
Somebody could just go and keep challenging people who are smaller or less capable than them.
Yeah, and they
somebody
say no.
who knows that... Here you go. Here's your exact thing.
Okay.
Somebody that knows they're an MMA fighter and like...
They wouldn't do it.
Well, you're talking about morality, but you're still... It could happen, right? It can be exploited. And that's my concern, because anytime you... And that doesn't mean that there isn't a problem to be solved, and that there isn't a solution that exists. I just see this as a thing that can just as equally be exploited. I don't know that it would have the impact that you would want.
Would it be worse than what we already have now in society, where if you get in a bar fight and the guy slips, falls, hits his head, you have a murder charge?
I don't think it's going to change anything. I think you're trying to introduce some gentleman handshake like preemptive, while tensions are already high, and now they're going to suddenly stop and be like, you know what, I forgot about that law, we should probably talk about that law first and then do this and then we can fight.
Well, because the laws already exist,
because they're already, we've already talked about them, they're either intoxicated or they're on drugs. So how are you going to stop them and help them to think reasonably?
If
and
they're
then
intoxicated
ask
or on drugs, they're more likely to lose the fight.
They're not going to know to stop and ask that question.
But that's fine. But now he's protected. So if I'm drunk and high and I disrespect you and I want to go over there and fight him and he wins and I slip and fall and break my neck,
I'm sorry.
Your husband doesn't go to jail for murder.
No. That's not true. Because we are a very, I don't know what the word is, we sue a lot in our society.
That's why mutual combat would be the law. Then if we said it, there is no...
That's intoxicated is now being taken advantage of, because sure, they said that they agree to that, but they were under the influence. So now everything that they said, it doesn't matter.
You're still responsible if you kill a child under the influence. You're still responsible if you crash into somebody under the influence. We don't let you off. You're still responsible.
No,
you
but
chose
that
to be
person,
somebody under the influence can consent, and then they're not really consenting. I think that's kind of where
I'm going.
But again, once it starts, you would see it decline. You would see what's happening decline, because people do take these things into account. I don't think so. I think so, because there's places like, I think Washington has it. There was, in fact, an MMA fighter who would stop people from bullying people. He would dress up as a superhero, and like I say, I was messing with your husband, and you can clearly see that your husband didn't want to fight. The guy would come over there. Do you agree to mutual combat? Yeah, I'll fight anybody. He's bussy. I'm gonna fight you. And then the MMA fighter would kick the dude in the leg 3 or 4 times with a good leg kick. Dude wouldn't be able to put no pressure on the leg because now his leg's all swollen, and he'd be like, "That's it. I'm done. And the cops would stand there and just watch this. No windows were broken. No property was damaged. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy happened. Nobody died. You know what I mean? But even if they did, the next person would start seeing this guy walk around and they'd stop messing with him. Even though they're drunk, they're still, oh, that's the guy that beat that guy up. That's the guy that did it legally. All right, I'm gonna calm down. And you saw it just in the community he was doing it, and you saw it whittle down a little. Now, if you made it completely legal, again, you're still responsible if you say yes to the fight. We have the highest concentration of MMA fighters in the world. Eventually, people are going to stop doing this. And MMA fighters don't do that. They don't.
I don't know about eventually, but I understand where your logic is going based on that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have an impact. I don't think it would lead there. I think that, well, so I think part of the flaw that could be there is that there are people that do lots of shit and the word just doesn't get around now. And so why would you think it would then? Like, I just don't think that the word of mouth and the influence would spread like you think that it would. Because there's already plenty of good reasons to do the right thing that just don't get around now, right?
Well, to do the right thing, yes. But a clip going viral is different than doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So a dude disrespecting your wife in the bar and you agree to mutual combat and you give him the 1-2 piece and he falls and he's knocked out, doesn't die, whatever. Oh man, in Vegas, dude, you go to Vegas and you agree to mutual combat? They got dudes knocking dudes out at bars. They got a lot of MMA fighters there. If you go to Vegas, control your liquor and stop trying to fight people. It would eventually become a thing. And then you would get the 1 or 2 bullies like, I'll just fight anybody. Okay, cool. We got the guy that trains with Tito Ortiz, bro. He's going to be in a bar. You're going to challenge somebody. He might not like the fact that you picked a little guy.
We've touched on this quite a bit. So if we have any final thoughts, let's talk about something else. But
well, do you have to be out of here? You have to be home at 5 or be out of here by 5?
I got to leave around 5, yeah, because the wife has an event to get to at 5:30.
Okay.
So do you want to shift gears on something else?
Yeah, I don't know. So I guess we've covered what you do for a living, right? Have we?
I do.
I keep meaning to ask you. So you kept expounding upon things in the court system. Have you worked for the court system or worked in that? Or are you talking?
I fought against it.
So talk about like what, so that I understand and so that the audience can understand what you've been involved with in that and how you understand so much in it. If it relates to like you're working with guns or, trying to be on the board, like how is it?
I had a custody case with my daughter when me and her biological mother split. It took 4 years, lots of money to get custody of my daughter, completely, and it shouldn't have.
Okay.
The mother was tested and positive for methamphetamines, all kinds of stuff. My daughter would have UTIs when she came home. Anybody that knows anything knows UTIs are a sign of a specific trauma. She'd have one every time she came back from the mother's.
Well, I'm not familiar with that. If you want to talk broadly,
it would usually mean that there was some trauma in some areas or some uncleanliness going on. But it was a health problem for my daughter every single time.
Okay.
Not once, not twice, every single time she'd come back from the mother's. So I took all this stuff to court and I kept telling them, hey, I want my daughter. The mom doesn't need. And they would keep being like, well, she's the mom. So, we'll give her another chance. She's the mom. We'll give her another chance.
What is that exactly their wording or how? What's the law's wording?
Nevada now is a 50-50 custody state. They weren't before.
But at the time, what was the law that they were citing to say
that's the problem with the court. That's the problem with family court is they don't cite laws. They don't follow the laws. They legislate from the bench. So like if you go into the courtroom and you go in there and tell the judge all kinds of lies on me, and I got it on camera, the situation, and you're about to lie. You're about to commit perjury. You're not only guilty of perjury, you're guilty of burglary too in the state of Nevada because you went into an area with the intent to commit a crime. So I did that. I'm like, here's the Nevada rights statute. Here's what she did. It's your job as the judge to enforce it. You need to file something. She just did it. Like right now, she did it. It's your job to enforce the law. They would legislate from the bench and enforce what they want to enforce. So I got involved with that. I won my case, terminated her rights, have custody of my daughter. My wife adopted her. My wife's been on my daughter's life since she was born. So that's her mom. That's who raised her and taught her good. So the other mom. So I got involved with a group called Veterans in Politics, and they go into the courtroom and watch these judges. And they're like, that's against the law. That's legislation from the bench. This is the law you're breaking. This is the rule. This is what you're supposed to do in that situation. They did it and they would expose judges for not being at work. Like we go to your courtroom, 4 times a week and you're only there once. Why are you working 1 day out of 5? And then judges started seeing that we were showing an impact of exposing them. They started doing what's called sealing the case. So when they see us come in, because family court cases are allowed to be observed by the public. They would be like, Veterans in Politics is here. And then lawyers are like, sealed case, they can't be here. Well, no, you have to file to seal a case. And we wouldn't be able to see the docket, so we wouldn't know that you have a case anyways. It wouldn't show up. So they started legislating from the bench and working with the lawyers behind and doing sneaky stuff so that we couldn't see that one litigant was being treated unfair compared to the other one, or one judge favored a specific type of person.
And legislating from the bench means the judge was basically delivering the law at that time that suited the whomever party at that time.
They wanted to, not following the law and doing what they wanted to from the bench.
Yeah, you're basically if you interpret the law inaccurately and then impose that, it's almost like you changed the law.
Yeah.
Therefore, it would be legislation as opposed to just following the law as it is written. And as it is
so you would see this to the point that they started exposing judges. Steve Sanson's the guy that runs it, and he's got a book out, and he's amazing. To the point that you would start seeing judges, like there was one judge, I can't remember her name. She would never rule in favor of the mother, no matter how good the mother's case was.
Okay.
Like the mom had the winning case. Like if you know anything about family court and you listen to the case and you just take mother and father out and you go person A and person B, you're like, oh, person B should totally win this case. And then you find out person B didn't, and you're like, well, why didn't person B win? They better environment, treat the kid better, the kid's happier there, kids' grades are better when they're there, they have money, they have a place. And then you go find out, well, that's the mother. Well, that's weird. Why the judge rule against the mother? Judge rules against the mother like 80% of the time. Then you would see a biases that you could expose and be like, oh, this judge rules against women. This judge hates women.
That's less common than the other way around.
It's less common than you think, but it happened and it had to get exposed. So that's how I learned about the court system, and we would work with the family stuff, and I got involved in that, learning the law, learning the things like that. Then you would see stuff like what you guys talk about, like adoptions or foster parenting. We've seen some of that. So again, that's how I not only personally knew about certain cases about like what you talked about, from my childhood experiences and things I saw, we'd hear cases like that. You know what I mean? Like something bad happened. There was a horrible case that happened over in Marble Manor with a family that abused a girl. She was like 10, 11. She looked like she was 6 because she was so malnutritioned. They kept her in a closet, like in a kennel in a closet. Like, you know what I mean? So you'd hear the rules and the laws, and so you would start helping people fight this stuff. That's why, like, to me, that's why I think a lot of the solutions are law-based, but holding all the law to the account of the basis of it. That's the problem. Like, I'd see a kid, this is his 5th robbery. He's been in the court. He's on probation. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to let you out when you turn 18. He knows that. And that's why he keeps robbing people, because he knows you're going to let him go when he turns 18.
And so you know about that because you were sitting with this veterans
in politics.
In politics, you were sitting in the courtroom working with them.
Yeah, as a court observer.
As a court,
anybody can court observe.
Is that military veterans or just like the idea
military veterans in politics?
Okay.
They're a group here in Nevada. Okay. They're actually international, but they're based out of here. They're awesome. They're super awesome.
I had no idea that group even existed.
Yeah.
And
they do.
That's pretty cool.
We're fortunate to not know, I suppose.
Well, they also legislated to make it to where it's a rule now where if you come in front of me as a judge, one of the first things I have to ask you, are you a veteran? Oh, you are? There's a different way that we handle this case.
Wait.
They have to ask if you're a veteran now.
The person that's being accused?
The judge has to ask.
Okay.
What's the different way?
It's just certain, you have veteran privileges, you have different things. There might be a PTSD or psyche thing that needs to be evaluated before we can even go further in the case. You know, there's parameters that have to be set up.
There's a discount, right?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think there's any discounts in it. These lawyers are going to charge you for a house.
I'm joking.
Yeah, the lawyers are going to get theirs.
When I'm interacting in certain transactions, monetary transactions, that's what I'm talking about as far as that.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So it was.
She's better at getting the veteran discount than I am.
Right.
I'm a veteran.
Ask. Yeah, she's going to ask. You're not. You're a guy. You're like, whatever it is, just put it on the tab. She's like, how much more money can I save? Ooh,
yes.
An extra $1? Yeah, give you that.
I just
every time
remember,
and
actually.
often.
But yeah, so you'd see these cases, and like you said, drugs are like, I think drugs have been involved in like 80% of every case I've ever seen. You know what I mean? And and that's the thing, you know. So I started helping families, started talking to people. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I would help people with like, oh, this is my case. What do you think? This is what you should do. And I came up with like what I think the default should be. And it's super simple. And I think it gets a lot of problems out of a divorce or childhood split. I think it's very simple. The judge shouldn't know which parent is the mother or the father. It should be parent A, parent B. Who makes the most? Parent A.
Now, does this happen in a court, or is this like in a room?
This is in a courtroom.
Okay.
Yeah. But I came up with a way to make it fair across the board and make it easy to where judges can't legislate from the bench. And you get a lot of the contention between the parties, you get it out. And it would just work simple. Parent A, parent B. Who makes the most money? Parent A, who has the house? Parent A, who's closer to the child's school? Parent A, who should get the child?
Parent A.
Parent A. Right? Doesn't matter if it's the mother or the father.
So do you find people would consult with you if you objectively were able to look at the case between the two of them? I don't know. I'm asking.
I've sat with couples.
So
like they're getting a divorce. I've sat with them and like, this is what you guys should do. This is going to save you $5,000 because if you get a lawyer, it's $5,000 for you and $5,000 for you. And that's a retainer fee. That's starting right now. You're going to pay me.
Right.
And what they'll do is they'll constantly, man, we got to go back to court, buddy. Need a little more money. Man, she ain't going to give you that weekend you want. I need a little more money.
Well, yeah, they create problems where they're not problems.
I mean, divorce cases and custody cases are usually $10,000, $20,000 cases. So I tell people this is how you handle it to make it to where it's not that.
Is that not mediation?
Well, that's what I do, like mediation. I'll mediate with them. So the parent that has the better living space gets the kids. The other parent gets the kids Friday after school out till Sunday or Monday, depending on what works for both parents. Right. Drop them off at school the first, second, and fourth weekend of the month. The other parent gets the third weekend. You split holidays, whoever celebrates the most holidays, whatever, and you take child support off the table. When the kids are with you, you take care of them. When the kids are with you, you take care of them. Medical bills, it's 30-30 rule. You both pay 50 of it, but you have 30 days to send him the bill. He has 30 days to send you half of the bill. It's a 30-30 rule. It's standard.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no contention. There's no, oh, you have to owe me money or you. And we make them use an app. I tell them to use an app so that one, it's recorded, and two, you can never say he said, she said. It's recorded. It's in the app. I know exactly what you said. So if one starts disparaging the other parent, which goes against the behavioral rules, it's right there. If they start saying, I'm not going to let you see them because I have all the power. Well, now you can take that case back to court because now they're violating the court order. You see what I'm saying? But it takes a lot of the contention out. And if you did it that way, one, it would take the sexism out. Like I said, we had a judge who wouldn't favor women. Well, if the mom made more money, she had the home, and she was closer to the child's school, there's nothing the judge could do. That's the primary parent. The child needs to be there. It's the more stable home. Then you guys can, I want only 2 weekends a month. Well, I want 3. All right, but I'll give you Christmas because I don't care. Okay, I'll give you your 3 weekends a month, but I'm taking Christmas because I do care about Christmas. You know what I mean? And then you would just do it that way. And it'd take all the contention out because you take the money out and you take the lawyers getting paid out. And now you guys save all that money to hopefully put in some kind of bank account for your kids. But that's up to them. But that's what I would do with. Well,
and it's another way to not punish the kids.
Well, you're assuming they had the money to begin with, but yeah, I give
Well, I mean, if you file, well, you better have money. That's all I know.
Yeah,
I think it's $250 to file, even if you both file together and like the same exact rules. It's still $250 just to file to say we want to split and we want custody of the kid to look like this. Even if you agree, it's still going to cost you $250.
And you've only done that here in Nevada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I only do that here. But like everything I do is based in Nevada. I'm not leaving Nevada. This is my home. Okay. That's why I want to make it better because I want my kids to grow up here. I want, a legacy of my last name here. So that's why I want it all to be solved, and it's up to us as a society to solve it. But yeah, that's the family court stuff. It's super.
Yeah, my brother's going through a divorce now, and like I've been giving him advice, and I don't really know, but I've just been giving him like common sense advice to like meet with his wife, and like start putting together a list of things they agree and disagree on, because he's got this hearing, and he's like, I don't know what she's going to say in the hearing. I don't know what I'm going to say in the hearing.
He's like bubble guts about it.
It all depends. Are they contentious with each other, or are they actually amicable?
We only have his side. Okay. We don't talk with her.
So what I would do, and it's just my thing, since you only have his side, tell him to be ready for a fight. So write down all the stuff he agrees, write down all the stuff he disagrees with.
Well, I've been telling him to go and meet with her and try to write it down.
I think they've already been talking about it.
Mediation. So he should go to mediation.
So he has mediation.
They have a meeting.
Okay. So this is mediation, but he's afraid he's going to get blindsided in mediation.
He probably is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He's a dude.
I think she's pretty contentious.
She's already talking about financial abuse and stuff like that.
Cool. You know what you can tell him? Sorry, this is sexual abuse. Believe it or not, withholding intimacy from your husband is sexual abuse in the state of Nevada.
No, they're in Maryland.
Sorry, I don't know. We're from Baltimore.
Maryland. Damn it.
Yeah.
I'm telling him to look it up though.
Yeah.
Because normally what happens in marriages, I think it's 78% of all marriages are filed divorced by the woman, and it's usually after 6 months of intimacy issues with her not being intimate with the male partner, which causes him to act sporadically and sometimes be aggressive.
I've experienced this problem in relationships where girls start trying to withhold sex and manipulate sex and use it as a weapon.
That's actually domestic violence. Here in the state of Nevada, it's domestic violence.
It should be, because it literally was. It was literally fucking with me, like in a big way. And like, I was like, wow, I'm so fucking helpless to this. But I just assumed that was the way it was, and I had to accept it. I wasn't married, but to those women. I've only been married to this one.
Well, see, look, you picked the right one.
Wait, you're Kelly, right? No, just
the light's too bright. He's blind.
Becky?
Yeah,
Becky.
Oh, yeah, I got to edit that out now. Well,
right.
I don't think
he's like white, blonde hair. It's Kelly.
So, so good that was in the second section or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I got to give him insight. Maybe we'll do like a group call or something with him.
Yeah, no, I have no problem helping him. Like I said, I just don't know their laws. I just know basic family court law. I know none of that.
He lacks follow through, and he doesn't. He doesn't know how to.
ADHD?
Well, in general, he didn't grow up with a computer. He doesn't know how to like research things. He doesn't know how to like organize things, and I didn't either.
I think he had a drug problem.
He had a drug problem, but none of I didn't know this stuff, and I know none of the fucking people around him do. Okay, so I know damn well that it's not just him.
Yeah.
They don't know how to research stuff. They don't know how to organize stuff. They don't know how to like defend themselves legally. You must know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And so.
And the worst part is places like Maryland are very liberal, so they almost will always lean towards the woman.
Yeah, everywhere. Isn't that true?
Arizona here, Texas. There's one up north-ish, might be Wyoming. And I think Florida are all 50-50 now. Like just immediately the judge is going to be like, this is a 50-50 case until I hear evidence.
Yeah, I watched
well, that's the problem. That's what's been happening with family court. What you'll see is they wouldn't be 50-50 cases, and they would just default to the mother having custody. And she's like, you don't get to see the kids this weekend because you're talking to that girl I know. Well, that's violating the court order. Good, go ahead and file.
Yeah.
Then you file, then it takes a week for the judge to see it, then it takes 30 days to get the court case, and now she's already violated your rights for about 2 months. Before you can even go in front of a judge.
Yeah.
Or you can file an emergency hearing, but you need to know how to file that. You also have to have the $200 to file it. You need to know what you get. And so she could literally just keep your kid from you. Like if you get 2 weekends out of the month, she can do it 1 weekend out of the month for 6 months before you ever step in front of a judge. And how much bonding time did that take away? How much contention did that cause? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the problem I've seen. But now that Nevada went 50-50, it's like the problem I see now is these judges just don't have common sense. They just don't like look at the case, and like I said,
they have that woke syndrome.
Well, the problem is anything like can get a bias, and let's say you just hear court cases all day, and then there's a trait of a person, and that person also happens to also like be hostile or agitate, and then that happens a few times in a row. Even if that trait is unrelated to that behavior, now you have a bias towards that trait.
Yep.
And so, that's a problem, right? It's you have to like be in check of that. But you're like, oh,
that's why I think
you play video games, and the last person that played video games was a mad, nasty little bitch to me.
Yep.
Fuck all the people that play, whatever it is, right? Like,
and that's why I think the judges shouldn't know who the clients are. I don't think you should know the age, the race, the sex of the person you're seeing the case of until after you've decided.
Interesting.
And now, because after you decided, now there's no biases. I knew plaintiff A and plaintiff B. That's all I knew. I knew the money, the income, who's on drugs, who's not on drugs, who's abusive, who's not abusive.
How would you do that? Would you just like hidden camera or what?
No, you'd have someone present documents that would strip
the attorneys go straight up there and like
any sex detail.
So unseen.
Unseen, yeah. You wouldn't need to see it until after you ruled on the case, and then what you could do after that, like, this is what I found best. Based upon the evidence you guys gave me?
You have the judge do some kind of a sealed ruling.
Or pull that back in. This part's good. I'm putting it in.
Yeah. But you have like a sealed ruling, and then everybody comes into the courtroom, and then he rules.
Yep.
And that's when they're seen. And if there's anything additional that they had,
then
they could do that. But
well,
but I think
Honor,
that
I know
would
you ruled this way, but since last week before you saw the evidence, she scratched my face at the bus stop when we did a parental exchange.
Maybe that's not even how they do it. They don't open that ruling until there's other evidence.
Yeah.
But then, no, that's not a good idea either.
Well, there's a way to do it. But like I said, you don't need to see the people who's on drugs, who has money, who has the stable home, who has the better background.
Yeah, what are the check boxes?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Well, which one's the mom? Don't give a shit.
Yeah,
who's older?
It's not
don't give a shit.
But it's not relevant.
I feel like people might be able to see that in the data too, but
well,
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Well, again, like I said, if you really looked at it, if statistically we cared about the data, you would just give the dad's custody. Statistically, the child's going to do better anyway.
But if I'm biased and I'm looking at your case, even on paper, like from an analytical standpoint, I might be able to tell who's who.
You wouldn't be able to tell who makes the most money.
Don't say no. The point is there should be some method to like AI that and just be able to strip all of that and say biased. Make it
AI's biased. Yeah, I wouldn't let AI.
There's got to be a method.
So there's got to be a way to developed AI that you graded it accurately on the rules, because AI doesn't have to be biased, by the way, because AI is how you train it. You can train it like
Well, I would just say, like, just plain and simple, Who's got the better income? Who's got the more stable home? If you have the better income, but she has the more stable home and she's closer to the child's school, we call that, that's what's called status quo. The status quo is anything that's been in the child's life for 6 months, which is school. So if the child would still stay at the same school and it benefits the child, the status quo will go to her.
Okay, so here it is. It's a list. Income, whose is more, school, whose is closer, like
stability.
What are the stability is it's not measurable. Stability could be it's not no, but it's not measurable. Like who's been there and able to pick them up from school? That's measurable.
No criminal record.
No criminal record.
No drug
on
use.
Drugs, not on drugs. Like one person is only going to get a checkbox for either one of those.
And so you just delivered Frank's point for him. Good job.
Yeah.
But you're agreeing with him.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. So you would just do it that way, and then the judge would never know.
But there can be like an other section.
Well, other
right?
would be
but
special needs and considerations. You know what I mean? Like our child has special needs. They're only 4 months old. They have to be with the mom. They need the damn breast milk. End of story. Sorry, Dad. When the child's older, we will send them to you and rule in your favor because you have the better. But right now, that breast milk is the only thing that matters. You know what I'm saying? Because the mom's not on drugs and the child's special needs.
Is there contention between the two parties? Yes or no?
Too, you know what I mean? Right? Can the two parties come in and do a mutual? I've had people do mutuals. I literally gave them their entire case. There you go. And they went and filed it, and that's the exact case they took to the judge. The judge was like, "You have a lawyer draft this up?" And they're like, "Nope, had a friend." Okay. Boom. $250 didn't cost them anything more. They did the talking parents, they did the mediation, they did the COPE class. They have their days that they discussed. You know, normally, like I said, I have my default days. You know, Friday when school gets out, because your child's gonna go to school. Whether they're 3 now or 5 now, at some point they're gonna go to school. Let's get them on the schedule they're gonna need to be on. You know what I mean? And then the parents will discuss, well, I really like Wednesdays. Cool. You can have Wednesdays. I'm taking Sundays. Cool. And that's what they did. I think they did a Wednesday-Sunday switch on the days. And they wrote it in there. That's it. They filed it. End of story.
There's one kid we know here. He's 18, still in school, though. Every other night, he's at the parents' house.
That has to be atrocious for him.
And they're not close together.
That has to be atrocious
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah. I think they agreed on it. Like
they did,
parents
but
agreed on it, but the kid?
That is so hard.
That's got to be hard on the kid.
Yeah. It's going all right for him, I think, but I get it.
Monday through Friday thing. Like this Monday through Friday, they're with you. Next Monday through Friday, they're with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you might have done that, but honestly, I would have just put it to who's closest to the school.
There's definitely value in saturation of anything, and I think people fail to understand that. Like contiguous time means that you get past social barriers that result in something, like you get depth from that's always going to have value that I think people don't necessarily realize. So it's not necessarily time total if it's all split up as opposed to contiguous. And this is true with like anything.
Well, that's the problem. Their formulation is whoever has the child 178 days. That's who has the child the most. Well, we might have to split a day. And last year I had them, 200 days. And this year you only had them 179 days. That's still less than what I had them last year, but then they'll fight over it. That's what I'm saying. Like that formula is just default, straight end of story, and it doesn't allow contention. And it doesn't allow the judges or the lawyers to try to manipulate laws. You're either on drugs or you're not. You're either a good environment or you're not. You're either close to the school or you're not. You either make money or you're on unemployment. You either have a place or you're couch surfing. You know what I mean? Now, nobody gets to play manipulation or have favoritism. And then, I think it'll give more responsibility to each parent, because now I can't fight. You know what I mean? I can't use the child to manipulate you. I can't take away your time. Your time is your time. The judge already said so. You know what I mean? And now, if you don't have a job and you do want the kid more, well, maybe now you get off your ass and get a job. Or if you want the kid more,
if you
maybe you get clean.
But you can have income and not necessarily have a job too, right? You have money.
Yeah, you can do that too. If you're working the streets hard. But you do it that way, and that way there's just no legislation from the bench. There's no unfairness. And I think it would tell society, if you're going to have a kid, you better have a job, you better be off drugs, and you better be close to their school.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're not going to have that kid for long if you split. And like I said, women, 78% of the time, they're the ones that file for divorce. And a lot of times it's just contentious. It's like, well, I'm going to get alimony. I'm going to get the house. I'm going to get half of your shit. And I get to go out with the pool boy. Like, you know, like, let's not
Fucking
do that.
pool boys, man.
Yeah, those pool boys. We
have a pool man.
Yeah,
Are we doing it wrong? We need a pool girl.
Yes.
I'm actually about to get my CPO.
I like my pool guy, though. He's very good at his job.
I do. A lot of them are. You know what I mean? But I mean, most of the time, like when I clean pools, I tell people all the time, you did half the work by not, you know, throwing your beer cans in here and your baby diapers and shit.
Yeah, let's tell Mike we do half the work. We don't.
I don't
He
know
does all the work, dude.
No,
Do you have-
I do a lot of the work.
Do you have a skimmer?
You do skim it, actually.
Yeah.
Do you have a skimmer?
He does all the work.
I do.
But that's what I'm saying.
You don't
When
have to tell me how to do it.
Things like that. You know, there's things you could do to make it super easy. I got a pool. I'm literally there 10 minutes. And I told the owner, this is what it is for the chemicals. This is what we have to charge you for the CPO license and all that. This is the lowest price we can give you. Why is that cheaper than everybody? I literally spend 10 minutes at your pool. There's nothing to clean here. Like at all. Your pumps work. Your filters are good. You listen to everything
Yeah, our
we
guy
tell
here
you.
is pretty quick.
That's what I'm saying. You listen to everything we tell you, and if you follow that, then your pool is cleaning itself. Like it's doing its own job.
All right. Any closing statement? Any socials you want to put out? Do you have a new book out?
No, but Steve Sanson does the Family Court.
Okay.
For Veterans of Politics. Steve Sanson has a book signing, I believe, February 22nd at the West Side Library. We will be there for that. BLEXIT is holding the event. I am the Assistant State Director of BLEXIT for Nevada. So we're going to host
What
the
is
event. BLEXIT, that's Candace Owens, Brandon Tatum, Charlie Kirk.
Oh, okay.
Exiting the Democratic Party and,
Okay.
you know, family pillars and school choice and entrepreneurship and
Okay.
financial literacy taught in school, maybe. Just
Yeah.
maybe. We might want to get that on the books.
That's a key one.
That's one of our 4 pillars is getting
Yeah.
that into schools, into kids and entrepreneurship. So we're going to host that. As for socials, I really don't do much social media outside of talk a lot of mess on Facebook
Sure.
and try and find solutions like with people like you guys when we get on a political discussion or a societal discussion. I look for solutions,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, but really no socials or nothing like that.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Frank Friends.
Yes, sir.